Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
All right, let's go!
Yeah!
Wow! Wait a minute. We've got some bad news to start the show with. I was all excited.
With some bad news?
We've got injuries.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about you and Bull battling here before the show.
No, we don't talk about that.
No, that's not bad news. That's fun.
Yeah, no.
Did anybody know that Thornhill got injured in the game?
No.
How did this slip by everybody?
Well, he was such a the only time we saw him in the game is when he was getting beat for that touchdown, so maybe we just didn't notice him the rest of the game.
That's probably it.
I don't know.
We're going to get into the injuries, and I don't know how big this one is. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that because you know that position and you know his skill set. But my God, it just feels like, and maybe I'm wrong. Wasn't here Monday and Tuesday, but it feels to me like it's one gut punch after another. The terrible loss, the news about Deshaun Watson, injuries piling up.
Njoku.
What's our line look like? Njoku. This isn't the greatest way to start a season.
No, it's in fact. Sorry, Adam.
No,
it's probably the worst way you could start a season. I mean,
Feels like
to have the performance you had in that game, to come out of it with all the injuries. It wasn't just like you got beat on Sunday. You got beat in every facet.
Does it change your opinion if Dallas boat races the next opponent? They play New Orleans next.
Yeah,
New Orleans put up,
correct.
47. So I am kind of holding judgment. I've got a lot of judgment on Sunday. But as for the season, I want to see what we have in Dallas. I'll feel better. I don't know how much. I'll feel a little better if Dallas goes out there and punches New Orleans in the mouth. And then we can say, hey, look, maybe this is just a much improved team that's going to make a run in the NFC.
But they won 12 games last year, didn't they?
They did. They were a good team. We know that. But then, you know what? I kind of looked at them, though, because of the way they lost in the playoffs, I thought, they're kind of like, I thought they were like us.
Well, but they've been that kind of team for a number of years. They've been excellent in the regular season for, 4 or 5 years here?
Will it change your
they
view
if
they beat New Orleans soundly?
The only thing that's going to make me feel better about the Browns is if I see Deshaun Watson play good football. And since I haven't seen that in forever, that's the only thing that's going to make me feel
well, we got a lot to say about that. Many other topics. We'll get into the Guardians. Nice win last night. Magic number only goes down by 1, though, because I think Kansas City and Minnesota both won.
They did. Well, Minnesota doesn't even matter right now in terms of the division.
True. I mean, they're not eliminated from the division.
No.
But we're looking at Kansas City. The magic number for us is Kansas City.
Yeah.
And at 14, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 7 wins and 7 losses from Kansas City, and you're in, and we've got more than 2 weeks to go.
Their playoff clinching number is listed as 8. It's actually
7.
It's really 7 because they have a tiebreaker against all those teams.
Yes.
So they're making the playoffs. I think there's a 95% chance they're going to win the division.
I agree.
Unless they completely fall apart in the last couple of weeks.
I didn't realize it was this bad. I knew it was bad. I think it was Hoynesy wrote a piece 2 days ago, and he put their record in there since the All-Star break. They're like 10 games under 500.
Well, it can't. Not anymore. I don't know when he put that there.
I think he wrote
this.
I think I read this Monday. It may have been Tuesday. It may have been yesterday. But it was within the last day or two.
Yeah.
They were like 20. I want to say they were 10 or 12 games under 500. It might not have been since the All-Star break. It might have been since July 1st.
Okay.
But I think it was 25 and 37 or. It was alarming. I knew that they had been below 500. I didn't know that it was by that much.
But the last 3, since that last game of the Royal Series when they salvaged that final game,
yes,
they've been back on track.
Didn't they win 6 of 7 after that or something?
Right. And then they lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, and now they've won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So overall, they've played much better.
How bad are the White Sox?
Terrible. They're
the worst team ever.
I don't know why we're not we, but like people betting on them every week to lose.
Yeah,
How much
remember
money could you have made this year?
remember last year, Mike was betting against the A's he should have bet against the White Sox every game.
It flipped around on you. You were up, I think, for a while, but did you end up losing money on that bet?
It ended up being almost exactly even. Like it ended up.
Isn't that incredible? That tells you how good Vegas is.
Yeah.
It
He
ended up
bet
being.
the entire season for them to lose every game.
Every game.
And see, the money, the spread is what gets you. They figure it out. They figure out how much they suck.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
roll
well, the
that
White
into
Sox
the
are a
bet.
massive underdog every night.
Yeah, they're,
They are.
they're home dog today, and it's like plus 200.
Yeah, they're the worst team ever. They haven't won consecutive games since the All-Star break. I think they only have 5 wins since the All-Star break.
They
total.
do. It's fine. Had I done the bet I did last year,
Yeah.
this year on the White Sox, I would have made money.
Are you sure?
No, but they've lost so many games. There's no
I mean,
way.
there's 70,
I like your honesty.
70 games under 500, 80.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but if you were betting them every week, or every game, I should say, you'd
Yeah.
be laying 300 a lot of times.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's
you'd
what,
lose-
that's
I
what
was
gets
betting
you.
the
You'd
line,
lose
though.
those.
Dustin, I was betting the line.
If you bet them on the run
on the
line,
run line?
like
Yeah.
1.5,
I got it.
then the
And
number's not as bad.
Their run differential is minus 309 this year.
Yeah, so that probably
which is
panned out well.
over 100 worse than any other team in
We-
baseball. I feel like I would win significantly more.
I
than those
agree.
that
I
would've
think you
lost.
would, but it'd be interesting to
Well, the
see
A's
it.
were normal bad last year. The White Sox are historically bad.
So we did a
bad.
thing yesterday on Channel 3 where we listed the 4 worst winning percentages in the history of baseball. And I didn't know this. The Cleveland Spiders are the all-time worst. In like 18... They were all 1890s.
Right.
And I said on the
Yeah,
show...
those don't
I said they
yeah.
don't count because
No.
guys smoked and drank in the dugout.
Yeah.
And they actually had, some of them, had other jobs that they would work on days of games.
Yeah, and
Like in the
teams were
afternoon?
in the last 100 years, the worst team was the expansion Mets in '62.
Yes.
that went 40 and 120.
And they're blowing that out of the water.
oh yeah,
They're going to blow
They'll
that.
lose 125 probably.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
How many games are
It's
left?
terrible.
17, 18.
And they
Yeah,
have
it depends.
33 wins?
yes,
33 wins.
Oh, my God.
So maybe
They're
they
not getting to
finish with
40. They're
38.
not going to get to 40 wins.
No,
I don't think they
chance.
will. No, I think
can't
they're going to
imagine.
set the all-time
Yeah, yeah.
modern day record.
But
It
of
doesn't
cour-
count when guys
Yeah.
had other jobs that they worked
Right.
the same day of games.
No, but of course, before we get into any more sports, guys, it is 9/11.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thank
which
you,
is,
Bull. Thank you.
it's 23 years.
I know.
It's some, you think back.
The weather today, by the way, is almost identical
Very
to the
similar,
weather,
yeah.
and that's eerie too.
It is.
I saw something on Twitter yesterday where somebody posted a picture of some tourist who had taken a picture of the Twin Towers on September 10th, 2001.
I saw that too.
Right? And there was just something so
wild
weird
anything
about
of
it.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know what's so crazy about it is back then I was in college, I was a freshman, we was getting ready to go play Iowa State, and we was going to school. They told us to stop, to go back to your dorms, and then you watch the planes hit and everything. And the crazy part about it is, like, to this day, there are some people, even though it was that traumatic back then and you were living it, some people believe it just didn't happen, or it's just wild to me.
What do you even believe it didn't happen?
There are groups of people that are like,
I think it was the Pentagon. There was a conspiracy theory that it wasn't a plane but a missile that hit the Pentagon.
it was just there's all kind of just confusing, and
It was a plane.
and
It was a plane.
You go back to it and you're like, man, that's it's like for people that saw JFK get shot, right? Like it's like back then it was like so real and surreal to you, and now as you get further and further and further from it, I think people need to really have an emphasis on revisiting and making sure that people don't forget that actually happened, and the things that surround that, and how devastating that was to the country.
I mean,
at that time.
I'm sure all 4 of us remember the exact spot we were in when we heard it.
I was in same thing, freshman year at Ohio State in 01, and the team was getting ready to practice. We were in the facility, and we had this lounge area, which would be put to shame now by Ohio State's lounge,
Right,
I'm sure.
right.
And we had this old school big screen TV, and we were just watching the news. And never forget, Trust calls us in and basically sent us all home. They canceled the game. We were supposed to play San Diego State. And we rescheduled it. It was crazy, though. I mean, it wasn't about
really
us. It
was.
was just such a bigger thing. And
No.
we had, a couple of players had, one player had a family member that worked in the tower, and so he wasn't sure. It was his mom, and another kid had.
So he didn't know if she got out or not.
Didn't know right away. They found out that she did eventually later that day, so it was good. But yeah, it was wild.
And were you in New York when it happened?
I was in upstate New York, not in New York City at the time, but obviously I have a lot of family, and my family was there.
Oh, absolutely.
My brother-in-law worked in the Twin Towers. Thankfully, he happened to be off that day.
Wow.
I did have a friend, one of the guys who was in one of my fantasy baseball leagues way back in the day, who was in the towers and did die that day.
Wow.
And I knew a couple of guys who were firemen. They weren't in Manhattan, but they were in Brooklyn, and they had gone out, and just the stories. I mean, it was just.
It's still almost surreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only time in our lifetime that our country was physically under attack.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just remember the uncertainty, and I had young kids. Kirsten and Corey were like 8 and 10 at the time. And you don't even know what do you tell them?
Yeah.
Do you shield them from it? You know they're going to hear about it. You'd rather they hear the truth than hear kid talk at 8 and 10 years old, what that can look like. And it was a real scary time.
It's so weird when you meet somebody young, like a teenager now, or even somebody in their early 20s.
Our kids don't
and
know.
it kind of means nothing to them.
I spoke to a class
way.
yesterday at Walsh Jesuit, and it hit me while I was speaking to them. When I talk, I usually talk in terms of events that happen in a sports year. And they were asking about my career, and I said, some of the fun things that I've gotten to cover, and I said in 2003, I was lucky enough to work in Tampa, and I covered the Buccaneers. And as I'm saying that, it hit me, you guys weren't even alive yet.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is.
Yeah.
It's odd that, there's this
so
there's this
strange.
under 20 generation
Right.
that really, they probably look at 9/11 as we looked at JFK and Pearl Harbor. We heard about it from our parents or our grandparents.
Right.
But we didn't live it. And I'm glad you brought that up, Bull, because it was
you have to still doesn't feel that long ago. I don't know. To me, it doesn't.
It does not feel long ago.
Right.
No, in some ways, to me, it feels like a few years ago, and in other ways, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And I loved your comment about let's not forget about it.
Yeah.
I saw something interesting yesterday that said we should hold on to the way we felt September 12th. And
well, it felt like the last time that it didn't matter if you were a Republican or a Democrat, that everybody was kind of
And Bull, that's what I was getting at. That's
Yeah.
what I was getting at. Like, we were having a discussion here about politics and debate and whatnot. And the thing I most hate about where we are today, and I won't get political, but the thing I most hate about where we are is that there is so much division, and it's pointless. There doesn't need to be. And you're right, on September 12th, it didn't matter. Right. And who knows? That may have been one of the last times it didn't matter.
Yeah, and it's permeated into other aspects of life, which is even worse.
Is awful.
It's like you're either in the Deshaun Watson camp or you're not. You're in the Baker Mayfield camp or you're not.
Do you think that stems from the political division?
I think so. I do.
It's possible.
I think so. I think it's a factor.
Somebody said something to me about a week ago talking about political division. And I agree with this. I fully agree with this. We should, and we don't do this enough, we should find someone with a differing viewpoint and have conversations, not yell and debate and insult, because there's enough of that. And I've had a few of them since I've had this initial conversation that can be eye-opening. And I'm not saying that it can work for everybody and on all levels, but I'm trying to have an understanding of both sides. And I hope everybody else does as well. And I would love it if we could, as a country, be united again, because someone said something a few years ago. The only possible way that they can see the United States coming together again is if we're attacked, is if we have a common foe.
We don't want that.
Is if we're at war, and we don't want that.
Nobody wants
Let's
that.
prove that we can do it ourselves. We can. I know we can. We can do anything we put our minds to. All right, enough of that. Mike, busy show.
Busy show. Let's get into it, guys. Quick, a first read from FanDuel. You know it's the #1 sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's also the #1 sports book in America, and right now FanDuel has a little something different for everyone out there. Starting now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime you want. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, we talked a lot about the new allegations and lawsuit against Deshaun Watson yesterday. We got A little more information since that discussion. First, Tom Pelissero tweeting out that the NFL does not plan to place quarterback Deshaun Watson on the commissioner's exempt list in light of a new civil lawsuit stemming from a 2020 allegation. Since there have been no criminal charges and the league's review has just begun, from the NFL PR, quote, "We are reviewing the complaint and will look into the matter under the personal conduct policy." Mary Kay Cabot then adding a little more information here. She tweeted out that NFL Special Counsel for Investigations, Lisa Friel, who led the investigation into Deshaun Watson that resulted in his 11-game suspension, is heading this one up as well. Knowing what we know now, he's not going to miss any time in the immediate future, but is there a chance these new allegations in this investigation can cause Deshaun Watson to miss games at some point this season? Is that a possibility?
I think it's certainly a possibility. I think the way, knowing the timeline of the NFL doing these things, I think it's more likely he gets suspended next year if he gets suspended than this season. But I wouldn't rule out a suspension for this season, and I definitely would not rule out a suspension for next season. Obviously, a lot of due diligence has to be done here. As we always say, these are accusations. We don't know the facts in the case, but there's going to be an investigation. There's potentially going to be a court proceeding here, unless it's settled out of court. And if nothing else, guys, this is just another thing that's going to hang over Deshaun Watson, and it's pretty clear that he's been affected by everything, his fault or not. It's almost irrelevant from this perspective, is that it has affected him, and it's not going away anytime soon. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. It's not going away anytime soon. The NFL typically takes their time with these situations, and which
is a good thing.
I guess a good thing, but also like in this situation, this happened middle of the year. So like, if you're the league, do you want this to drag out the entire season? I don't know. I mean, I think it would behoove the league and the Browns if they got this done relatively quickly. Like, dive into this. Don't sit on this for a while.
No, but the commissioner in the past has been very clear. Our timeline is getting it right.
Yeah, I want him to get it right, but I want him to not dive into
Deshaun
it
Watson
now.
Deserves that too.
Well, and the team and the league, we don't need this looming over top of the Browns the rest of the season. It's only going to make things worse. Bull hit on it there. I mean, Deshaun, I think certainly affected by it. I don't know in what capacity, how bad it is.
Do you think he could miss games this year?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he missed games the first time for this, and I don't know.
But to Bull's point,
it took a year.
Kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
Do I think he'll miss games? I think it's possible at some point. I don't know exactly if it'll be this year or next year. I wish we just know sooner rather than later.
Jay, does he miss time?
He could. It's like saying anytime you have any sort of interaction with police, could you go to jail? Sure, you could. Obviously you don't want to have an investigation by the league, and anytime that those things are hanging over you, there's an opportunity. We've seen before. Last time he was in an investigation with the league, they did an investigation. They came down with 6 games. Turned out to be 11 games after they went back and said, no, we think it should be a little more stiff punishment. So those things always play into the factor, and it will mess with you mentally because, again, for most of us, you just want to go on with your life. You want to play football. You want to concentrate on, getting back on track, and then, there's more stuff that you got to deal with legally. So, at the end of the day, I don't think it will necessarily be this year because they do take a long time to look at this stuff, generally speaking. And then, maybe, they figure it out or do something with it next year as the timeline lengthens. So, yes, something could happen, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be tomorrow or something they come to the judgment.
Right.
Jay, I think that if he gets suspended again, his career's over.
I agree.
Right? Because,
I agree.
First of all, now, I think the suspension will be even if they find him to be guilty. In their judgment,
this is far worse than the previous allegations.
Right now, it's
even though they were more.
Right.
This is far worse.
Those were inappropriate behavior.
Exactly.
What he's being accused of here is rape.
Right.
It's not the lawsuit doesn't. It says sexual assault.
Right.
But if you read what she's accusing him of,
she accused him of
raping.
penetration.
Of rape.
Yeah,
of
rape.
Intercourse. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be a long suspension. If it's a long suspension, I'm assuming the Browns are going to be able to get out of his contract. I don't know that, but I assume.
Yeah, do we know exactly? Because, Mike, you sent a note that said, is it curious the timing that the details of his contract were released?
I mean, they've always been out there. I think people just put it out there again because.
My question is, and I asked a couple of people yesterday that are agents in the business, and they said, I don't know, I haven't seen his contract, I can't say. What was supposed to me, and again, this is supposition, that they would imagine that the Browns, for their own protection, had put something in there.
Exactly.
Because they knew a lot more with the restructured contract than they did the first time around. Now, whether or not the Watson camp caved to that demand, who knows? You'd have to literally read the contract, and I don't know that anybody has read the contract, have they?
Probably not every word.
Yeah, the full contract.
Yeah. I have just seen snippets. It's
sure.
To me, it was interesting that snippets that may have been available before
and were
are certainly available now with specific language regarding Browns outside contract.
So I'm glad you went where you went, because where I was going to go, first of all, the question is, will the new allegations keep him off the field? No way of knowing.
Right.
I think we can answer the question, could the new allegations keep him off the field? Absolutely, they could. Here's the issue for me. This is very, very tricky, and they have got to get this right.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a masseuse claiming that he dropped his towel.
Right.
This is far more serious. And because of that, and I was consistent with the same stuff with Trevor Bauer, I have serious questions as to why we're just now hearing about this. I have serious questions about that. Women that have been raped are the only ones that can speak to their truth and why they might hold stuff for 4 years. I don't know. It doesn't seem logical to me. I would hope that those allegations would come forward as soon as they happen. Why? The preservation of evidence. At this point, it is going to come down to two things: what he says and what she says. And that's it. There is no way of proving anything. If you and I go into the fitness room next door and we have a conversation and we come back in here, unless it's recorded, there are only two things that can happen: your story and my story.
Yeah.
And if we tell G and Dustin, they've got to decide who is more credible. And ultimately, that's what this is going to come down to.
Yeah.
The league will interview the alleged victim. They will weigh her story versus his story. Now, here's where I think it gets scary for Deshaun Watson. In the initial report announcing his 11-game suspension, the league they did not mince words. They came forward and said that they did not think he was forthcoming, and they also thought that there was no remorse. And the reason I bring that up now is because it's the same woman doing the investigation. And if she has an interview with the alleged victim, and she comes away from that thinking, this woman was raped, and then she talks to Deshaun, and Deshaun says, no, that's not what happened, and he tells his side of the story, and she doesn't believe him, now she's got two stories, and she has to weigh which one she believes more. And I think he comes into this with a loss of trust equity because of what happened the first time around. So how serious is this? If the league decides that her accusation merits weight and was the truth, I think this is the end of the road for him.
100%.
I don't see how he ever plays in the NFL again.
No, he won't.
Because the Browns would certainly have language in morals clauses and other things to get out of the contract.
And nobody would sign him.
And my question is, does he walk away with $0, 0 cents at that point? The contract is voided. I know in our business, we have personal service contracts. We have morals clauses. When there is a violation of the morals clause in our contract, there is no payout.
Well, but you get what you already... I mean, he already got paid for the first 2 years.
What he's been paid is his.
But going forward, now, in theory, he might have nothing.
There could be future lawsuits where the Browns try to recoup that money because this event took place 4 years ago. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know the law. I don't know if they would have standing on that. But to me, it feels like if the league decides that they believe her and not him, it's very possible he's played his last game.
Yes.
And
yes.
And at least with the Browns, and is anybody going to sign him? See Trevor Bauer.
No.
That is why the timing when you talk about this thing, please don't be disillusioned and think that this is not something that is the plan.
There was strategy
of
to that.
attack.
I agree with G.
From who?
From the lawyer.
From the lawyer.
Lawyers, civil lawyers, their job, their sole job is to get you the most money they can in that settlement. What's the best way to do that, right? Most of this is done because they want to, judge this in a court of public appeal, in opinion. They know they can't really go and do it criminally because if you don't go and you don't have a DNA kit or you don't go file a report immediately after, that pretty much slams the door on.
I don't know if that's. I mean, you can file a charge. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Do you know that? I'm not sure that that's the. Obviously, it's going to be harder.
So here's
Which is why I brought up what I did.
Right.
If you come forward the next day or you
Right.
go immediately to the hospital, there's evidence. There's a rape kit.
sure.
There's DNA, and on and on.
Yes.
There's none of that now.
So now that you don't have that, it has now become a your word versus my word. And that your word versus my word does not take place in a court of law. Yeah, you can have it in a court of law, but guess what? You are fighting over how much damages you're going to pay. So when you come out with these allegations, the timing is very curious because you just played terrible, your dad just died, your friend just died, and now you get this dropped on you. The goal is for you to be pressured and say, hey, do you want this to go away or do you want another investigation for 8, 12, 16 months? Here's what we do. Hey, $300,000 to work, $400,000, $500,000, whatever that number is.
Oh, they were looking for 7 digits here.
So right. Before,
They know how much he has.
Before, it could have been 400, 500 when everything was died down.
Maybe. Yeah.
Now, he's looking at 10, 12, 13 million to make it go away. The slippery slope is this. What prohibits anybody else from coming forward?
That's exactly right.
But if he did these things, who cares?
But hold on. But here's
Right.
the thing.
If.
I know, but
see, Bull,
Yeah.
so in the corporate world, at some point, corporations have to stand up and take a stand against allegations.
Right.
And here's why. When you continue to write checks, here comes another one. Here's a
Right.
check. Here's a check. And by the way, the same guy is representing all these women. I'm not saying that's the case here, but it is possible that the lawyer is looking at this guy as a bake sale. And he can find any woman that has had any interaction with Deshaun Watson that can prove there's a text trail and there was actually contact made. And now he can come up 2 years from now and say, hey, I've got another one that came out. We're going to need another $5 million. So at some point, and I don't know that this is where we are, but at some point, if you're Deshaun Watson and you're innocent, and you know you've done nothing wrong, then you have to sit back and say, you know what? No, enough. Enough. I can't take one punch after another and keep writing checks for things I didn't do.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, though. If you were in Deshaun Watson's situation and you were innocent,
yes,
would you ever write a check?
Never. Not only that, Bull, and this
Yeah.
is what scares me.
Yeah.
I would probably tear an ACL getting to a camera and microphone to proclaim my innocence.
That's right. Me too. Now, we're not in that situation, so I don't
know.
know.
No, we're not.
But I think we're being hypocrites because before, when Deshaun Watson was saying he was innocent, everybody said the worst thing he can do is get in front of a camera.
No.
Where's PR team? Why is he talking? Leave it alone. Let it die down.
Let me set the record straight. I did not. I wanted to hear from him initially. What I didn't like is that he just kept talking about it. Address it once and set the ground rules. I am here for the last time to talk about allegations against me. I'm not going to relitigate this every single week. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go back to it every single week. I am going to state right here, right now, that I did not do what this woman alleges I did. Period. Full stop. It's disgusting. It's reprehensible. This is another money grab. They've been trying to squeeze me for money, telling me if I settle, this will never go public. So there's a price tag on rape?
Yeah.
No. But then when you're done with it, you're done with it. Don't answer questions every single week about it. Because that's where he got in trouble.
And what I would say, and again, to be fair, I've never been in this situation.
Right.
I have never done anything that I could be accused. I've never done anything
But you
in my
could
life.
imagine what it's like to be falsely accused.
Of course,
Yeah.
it is possible. Of course, and it happens sometimes.
Yes.
It's not that common as,
No.
but it happens.
It happens,
There
and
are examples.
Yes.
We know it. But if I was being accused of something that I had not done,
Right.
there is no lawyer, there is no person that could ever convince me
I agree.
to pay off somebody of something I did not do.
Because it almost puts a price tag on the action.
And it
And-
would encourage, if it's all lies, then it would encourage other liars to come out too.
Which, by the way, we know there were settlements, and here's another one saying
That's right.
she wants to get paid too.
That's right.
Now, I don't even know. There's a lot of supposition in that statement, and I'll pull that back. I don't know for certain that Busby and this victim have gone to Deshaun and asked for money. I imagine they have, because that's the process.
Why are you having a lawsuit if you're not looking for money? What are you
Well,
looking for?
at this point, that's exactly what they're looking
Well, that's
for.
what I'm saying. This is
my
not a
thing
criminal case.
Like but it should be.
Yeah, no, I agree
If you
with that.
were criminally aggrieved, let's go through the channels and go to the criminal authorities. But because it's 4 years later, she'll say, "I have no evidence now."
Let me give you this.
And in a civil suit,
We all
bar is lower.
have wives, we all have daughters, we all have mothers, we have sisters. I'm gonna let you know something right now. If any of those people, something happened to them where they are raped, I don't want your what money.
Right.
I
That's
want
right.
you to die in jail. And I'm gonna do everything that I can to make sure you get on that stand and they put you in that suit. I don't care about your money. At that point, it's past money. So for me, I don't care if it's 6 years. The statute of limitation is 5. You got 1 more year. Let's go. I'm taking my chance in court. I want you out of here.
Well, maybe they're going to try. First of all, it's not her decision
Sure
to
it
press to.
No,
to,
it-
sure it is.
Well,
Prosecutor has to-
it's her decision to press charges.
Right, yes.
It's the police
prosecutor.
investigation and the prosecutor. So
Right.
maybe she tried to and they wouldn't do it.
Well,
maybe she's in the process of doing it now and we just don't know about it. I don't know.
And here's the thing, where
Yeah.
a lot of it, we're almost going down the same rabbit hole that we did the first time.
Yeah.
There is far more that we don't know about this
Sure.
than what we know.
Right.
And we don't know that, I would love to know, did she pursue criminal charges? And the
Right.
DA said there's nothing here.
Right.
We need to know that.
Yeah.
There are things we need to know, and I don't know why we haven't heard from Rusty Hardin or whoever Deshaun Watson is employing as lawyer these days.
Yeah.
But this much is certain. Deshaun Watson is scheduled to talk either today or tomorrow. He has to, per league rules. He has to, or they get fined. I need him to talk, because if he does it, and the league and the Browns just take the hit on the fine, why are you hiding him? An innocent man wants to scream his story from the mountaintops, and I would hope. First of all, it's my hope that this did not happen. If it did, I hope justice is served. If it didn't, I also hope his name is cleared. And he's the one that can start that process. I need to look him in the eyes as we did the first time and see how trustworthy is he telling the story that this didn't happen.
His counsel, any good counsel, is going to tell him they're not going to have him having statements without being vetted. They're not going to let him go out there and say anything that's going to be used against him in a case.
If he didn't do it, then what needs to be vetted?
Tell the truth.
If you're
Because-
innocent, you have
Tell the
nothing
truth.
to hide. You should have nothing to hide.
But that's not what it is. You know what it is when you lawyer it up. I'm not going to say. My lawyer tells you they handle it. I'll issue the statement. My lawyer will deal
That's
with
true.
it. and keep
That
it
is
quiet.
how
Well,
it
then you
works,
can't
but-
complain about being.
Yeah, sure you can.
You can't
Sure you can.
Well,
You have
then
a
it's your fault.
No, you have a right to remain silent, bull.
Sure,
Right,
but you can't complain when the people think you're guilty
But listen,
in public.
there is a time and a place to argue your conversation and what's going on. In front of a podium at a football conference talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars is not one of them.
Well, from a football standpoint, it couldn't be any worse. He played like crap. This is hanging over him.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It is a mess. There's no other way to say it. It's been a mess since day one when he got here. There's been very little to cheer about.
The Browns are to blame
here,
here, by the way. The Browns are to blame. They brought the mess, the situation.
I can't
call it a
disagree
mess.
with you.
They brought it on everybody. And
they doubled down and they've tripled down.
Yeah, and
if you look at what's happened recently, they've given him the keys to the franchise.
And honestly, guys, I know we're bringing Leroy on here. Bring him in now if you want to on this conversation. But like the Browns put the team and the fans in an untenable situation.
Yeah, it's not a
and
good
it's
spot.
not fair.
It's not a good spot at all, and it's not fun being a Browns fan right now.
No.
We'll bring Leroy into the conversation after a quick word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some big-time wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Leroy's been in the wings listening for the last 10 minutes to the discussion. Leroy, what say you?
You know what? It's
You don't want no part of this, Lee boy. Just say Jacksonville Jaguars, run the ball, throw the ball, do something. You ain't got
here's what I would say. The fact that this is even a situation is a problem, right? For whatever reason. But if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not talking to anybody because I don't feel it necessary for somebody to just say something happened that didn't, and now I got to respond to a person who has no importance in my life. The time and place will come, but right now, I need to fix this badass football I've been playing. And so you start addressing other things and all the things that he have to deal with right now, and it takes away from what he needs to be doing that he hasn't done since he got here. Now, I heard you guys say it's the Browns' fault. You ever been in a situation where you go to buy a house and you look at the house and you say, I think I want to make an offer. Let me chew on it a little bit. And then the realtor or the owner or whoever tells you, I got 3 other offers on the house and I'm going to decide tomorrow. And then you have to make a decision whether you want to throw your hat into the ring, maybe sooner than you thought, but you really like the house. Mm-hmm. Then you buy the house and it's a cash. You got to put a whole bunch of money into it and you're like, damn, I wish I had made a better decision. Sometimes you make a good decision that doesn't work out. The Browns weren't the only ones who wanted Deshaun Watson. What the owner did and what the Browns did was say, we're going to do what it takes to get him. Which is a good thing. If you want him, get him. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, Leroy, though, if Deshaun is the house, let's say the buyer had the house surveyed and the surveyor said, the foundation is crumbling here. It's a beautiful house. Once upon a time, it was a showpiece.
Yeah, but
this
that's
sits
a whole
on
different
foundation, and the foundation is crumbling. In Deshaun Watson's case,
he got some issues. You knew he was going to get suspended.
you knew it, and you signed up for it. And there was also reports. Now, I don't know exactly what the other numbers were, but there were reports that the Browns were bidding against themselves with that high number.
Yes, because it's Cleveland.
Because it's Cleveland.
Right?
Because they were more desperate to get it.
There's certain teams, for example, I give you a perfect example right now. Christian Wilkins going to Vegas. They just offered him so much money, that wasn't even the discussion.
Yeah.
Right? And so from that standpoint, these things happen in football all the time. Like, I appreciate the fact that the Browns made an attempt to get the guy. It just didn't work. And it hasn't worked up to now. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. I don't know what the hell is going on we had a guy, and the Browns brought in a guy who threw the ball down the field more than most quarterbacks. And I ain't seen him throw but 2 balls more than 10 yards down the field.
Yeah, everything's dink and dunk.
Like, it's like, what is his shoulder still banged up? Is there something that we don't know? Like, he chucked one down the field just for the hell of it during the course of that game. But, like, I don't know what I'm seeing right now. That's the whole point. I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out. And what we do is we try to figure out why. Right? Well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Is the line not protecting? Is he doing this? What else is going on? And I'm like, I can't figure it out. He's got time to throw. He's got time to make. He's not even looking. Yeah. So I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the issue is. But there's going to come a time where that call is going to come from upstairs. And they're going to say to Kevin Stefanski, do what you got to do to win games.
Right.
Because that is his job.
Hey, Leroy, last time we had you last week, you were talking about meet up with Eric Metcalf and going to the big house. You kind of buried that story to start this show.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Just want to ask you
It's a good point.
what happened up there against the Longhorns.
That was
Just
crazy.
wanna know.
Hey, can I just tell you? And I told you last week I was scared that Fresno State pushed Michigan around.
Yeah,
right.
You did.
So
You did.
let's start there. I said that.
Yeah.
And then I saw Texas coming in the field. I was like, woo, they bigger than Fresno State. Oh my goodness. But the whole weekend was messed up. So I get in at 12. The rental car place closed at 12. Right? So now I got to get up at 6 in the morning, go to the rental car place, drive from the rental car place to Michigan, find out where the hell Eric Metcalf is, finally hook up with him. Now, side note, all I brought was a T-shirt.
Oh.
A Michigan T-shirt and a Browns T-shirt. It was cold as hell. So I just yelled, I'll pay $1 million for a sweatshirt. But naturally, all the shirts, when you go into that stadium, are $1 million. So they got me. Right? And then I sit next to Metcalf. And he's doing Metcalf stuff. I told you we was going to dumpster drive, yo. Okay, fine. I got to take it. I'm a big boy. I know how that is. We finally get back to the car. We driving back. I say, I'm going to have to hear this the whole ride. He say, no. You know what? I'm done. He said, but I'm going to call my boy and put it on speakerphone.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Give him a shot.
Wow. You got the mans in there. That's so disrespectful. We didn't have that. That's disrespectful.
Yeah. So you would think that's it. So we get back. I go eat with Bernie, right? Make plans for Sunday. I go and sleep for like 10 hours. I get up at like 10, 11 o'clock. I'm going to meet with Bernie. And Bernie, he has crazy requests too. Come meet us. Come meet us at the hotel and valet your car at the hotel. And then we'll all ride together. I say, that sounds great because, Bernie probably could get better parking than me, right? Get in the car. We go to the game, enjoying the game. I'm in the suites. I'm saying hi to people. People don't realize I went to school with Melva Thompson. So I went and said hi to her. So I know, and we had some other people from Michigan, and I just hung out with them for a minute. All right. End of the third quarter, I'm like, well, no need in me fighting traffic because this game is over. So all right. Call Byrne.
He's gone.
Hey, where are you, buddy? I left. Yeah. He just
No more
he
text,
lied.
bro.
No more texting at the
just-
hospital.
He just left me. I'm at the stadium with the team getting dump trucked.
Been there
You know,
before, buddy.
like- I'm just at the stadium, right? So Metcalf said, I got you. So we walking about where he's staying. His boy is going to give me a ride. There's so much traffic. He said, well, we might as well go over here and have a drink. So I got back to my room at 11:30. I had to get up at 3, return the rental car. My flight left at 5. Flew into Miami and then went to work.
Nasty
Man,
work.
you took it on the
Nasty
chin
work.
this weekend.
Wow.
To make it worse, I texted Leroy. I was on the baseball field, and I had no idea what was going on. I texted Leroy.
You know what? You know what? That was just rude. You knew what the hell the score was.
I did. I checked the score, and I saw it, and I said, I gotta hit Leroy. I said, I'm playing baseball. You got a score? He texts back, a lot to not that effing much.
I got picked up in my ear, and then I'm getting texts. Like, come on, man, enough is enough.
You had to watch some bad football this weekend.
Leroy.
Last weekend.
Yeah.
I gotta get you. I gotta get you before you get out of here on some football talk, man. When I was watching that game, and I saw how they came out that first and second series, and the way that they just had no stomach for even trying to run the football. To me, I was alarmed because what I've known for Wyatt Teller, and you know, people saying he want to run the ball more. Joe Batonio, all those guys up front, and when you got them ends coming off the edge and they wrecking games,
You got to get up inside of them.
you got to give them some recourse. What's going on with the run game? Is it a thing where they want Deshaun to be the 5-wide shotgun, but they just that's past. They got to figure out something for the day, man, to at least give themselves a chance to win.
Because here's and let's be real about this. Sometimes you have that dude in the backfield where it don't matter if you have a 7 to 8 man box, right? And sometimes you might not have the same thought process when somebody else is in there, so you have a bunch of run past checks. And it seemed as though, now my problem is that then you got yourself into a situation where you see where Deshaun throwing the ball, and you're like, well, now what? You know, now do we do? Do we run it? It was a little more off tackle than straight ahead. I think I would have rather run a lot of traps and stuff like that, just to try to give angles so that Jerome Ford knew, you know, where he was, you know, gonna go. But you have to make Micah Parsons defend the run. And it seemed like they dropped back so many times that he was just free to just do whatever. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. We never, ever kept them uncomfortable about what you were going to do offensively. They put us in a situation where now we got to pass it. We're not going downfield. And Deshaun is kind of patting the ball a little bit, which plays into the hands of Dallas defense.
Hey, Leroy, let me ask you a question about that, because I agree with you. I mean, it's, when the scoreboard dictates that you can't run anymore, then you're stuck. But I get the sense that this team, this current version of the Browns, particularly with the changes they made on the offensive staff, I feel like they've embraced the pass way more than they have in the past. And this is going to be what we see this year. It's ride or die with Deshaun Watson.
How do we know that yet?
Well, because at one point, and I can't remember who it was, if it was Mary Kay or we had somebody on, and they said that they felt that the Browns' run-to-pass ratio is going to be pushed up towards the 65 to 75% threshold.
I don't know. I don't buy. But let's just go back for Leroy answers. The first 2 drives of the game. The first drive, the Browns ran on first down. The first play from scrimmage, they ran on first down. They got 4 yards. The second play, they passed, got a first down. Okay. Next first down, they passed. Are we going to complain about that? Will they have to run on first down every time?
No, you don't run on first down every time.
They got a penalty on that play. So now they're behind the sticks. What are you going to do?
They were behind the sticks all day.
Second drive, first play, false start. You're 1st and 15.
Yes.
So how are you supposed to run in that situation?
They had 5 penalties in the first 7 minutes.
Hand the ball to a person in 1st and 15. You're not prohibited from running.
No, I hear you, but most teams are going to throw the ball in 1st and 15.
Leroy, do you think that this version of the Browns is built more to throw than to run, particularly because there's no Nick Chubb?
I would say this. Sometimes it's hard to get a good feel for it because the circumstances of the game dictate what you do. right? And and it's unfortunate because you could have a team that don't have a wide receiver, don't have a quarterback, and they get put in a situation where they're down 2 touchdowns and they have to throw the ball, and they throw the ball.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time. Just ask Daniel Jones, right? So I'm not ready to say that yet.
Right.
I also don't know. Like, it seemed a lot of times where Dallas would bring that extra man in the box just to come almost force you to pass and then drop him out. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's some of that too. So we'll see as the weeks, play out a little bit if that's their intent.
Leroy, are you saying that, I just wanted to clarify, are you saying that when they would bring that guy in the box, do you think Deshaun was audibling to a pass and then they would back out?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, could be. Like sometimes, again, like I told you before, if Nick Chubb's in the backfield and they bring that 8th man in the box, nobody cares.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You might not have that same confidence in the other guy. So you have a check. So when you see that guy creeping up, you check to a pass. And then they just drop back into coverage.
Right.
But they started with an 8-man box. These are the things that defenses do, and everybody says, why are we passing it so much? Well, because they're trying to bait you into it. Whereas when you have Nick Chubb was that equalizer, and that, so what? Put 8 or 9 up there. You still ain't going to tackle Nick Chubb.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Leroy, we got to run. We'll talk next week. Thanks for coming on and taking our unfriendly fire. You're a good man.
Wait, listen, for the last 5 days, Leroy been getting his butt whooped, so I'm good.
Well, we go easy because we're friends. Leroy, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Leroy.
All right.
Isn't Leroy the name of the
Leroy
suspected,
Bickerstaff.
Leroy Bickerstaff, the suspected Deshaun tweeter?
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
talking
God,
that
you're
overtime.
right. You're right. It is Leroy.
We're going to talk about that in overtime. Don't worry. We have some more pressing Browns we have to get to. And G.
Yeah.
Bush did not do an Ultimate Brown show yesterday, which means he's doing it today. A Wednesday edition of the Ultimate Brown
Wow.
show from G. Bush. Make sure you guys tune in this afternoon. You can check it out on our YouTube page. Guys, Mary Kay tweeted out this morning that the Browns are placing 4 players on injured reserve. None of them are David Njoku. Juan Thornhill, Mamadou Diabate, Tony Fields, and Mo Hurst, all placed on the injured reserve list. The injury bug hitting early and often for the Browns. I didn't even realize Thornhill got hurt in the game. I was telling you guys, that came as a complete shock to me. Dustin, when you were watching, I know this is a position you played, safety, defensive back. Did you see a play where Thornhill got hurt? Did you see any signs that he was hurt throughout the game?
I didn't see him,
I saw his pride get dinged up.
he wasn't reaching for like a hamstring or whatever. I don't even know what was the injury. Did they say what the injury was?
No.
A calf injury.
Oh, they did
That's all they
calf.
said. Just
okay, calf.
I don't
Juan
remember them
Thornhill,
ever mentioning anything on the broadcast.
that's one of those.
Or after the game.
Right.
That's one of those that you could just tweak during the game and kind of grind through.
Maybe you think it's nothing
You
at the
think
time.
it's nothing,
And then the day after,
I've
you're like,
had
okay,
that
this is serious.
I've had that so many times.
Your
and
calves are always a mess.
I'd pull a calf walking up a stair, so I'm not one to talk. But no, I think that's something definitely could be
happened.
lingering, and like it happened during the game, and all of a sudden after you're in the shower or whatever, and you're like, I kind of swing, and then you go in on Monday,
Right.
and you say, hey, take a look at this, and they're like, yeah, you
That's when it
got a
always-
good strain there, pretty good strain.
That's what happens in the shower. All of your injuries,
They come out in the shower.
They come out. You be in there. You be like, damn,
What's going on in my
did I
low
die?
back? I mean,
My legs
why
is
do I have a bruise on my ass?
It's like this is. Did I get tackled?
Sometimes you don't feel it in the heat of the
It's
moment.
crazy.
How big are these injuries, guys? How much does this hurt the Browns?
I mean, you're losing
forward?
a starter, and Hurst is, a rotational
They're
guy on the
contributors,
D
yeah.
line. I mean, none of those injuries are devastating, I don't think, but they're meaningful.
Sure.
I mean, Thornhill's probably the biggest out of
Yeah,
that group.
I think
mean,
so,
you
too.
got a safety who controls so much in this offense to be able to, and he was healthy. I mean, playing good, in camp and everything. So that's a big loss. I mean, obviously we're not talking about IR with David Njoku, but like that to me is the biggest
Yeah,
loss
that's the biggest.
for now because it takes away such a huge part of your offense that's already struggling.
Yeah, I like Ronnie Hickman. He pulled up a little bit in the preseason. I don't know if it was a growing or a hip or a hamstring when he gave up a play earlier in the preseason. He played pretty well when he was in there last year. You got Rodney McLeod, who's a veteran. He could probably step in and help out a little bit. They'll probably rotate him in and out. Maurice Hurst, that hurts a little bit, but you do got Quentin Jefferson. You do got Shelby Harris. They have a little depth there as well. So, I mean, the thing about me is the linebacker position. I didn't even know Jordan Hicks was playing. I didn't even. I was like, is he playing? I didn't know his name. And now you got Diabate out. Tony Fields, special team dude, he's out too.
That's your fourth and fifth linebacker.
Yeah, but also special teams were dog shit.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They were not good.
Yeah. So I mean, you losing some depth there, guys that run down and make tackles, and if you're already struggling to make those tackles, I mean that's a big loss.
You're gonna see a little more Devin Bush in there. You know, he is what he is. He's not no front line, starting linebacker, but more than anything, this just what this means, guys, is your frontline guys got to be frontline guys, man. Like, watching these games across the spectrum in the NFL, then you need your guys to be who they are and how they're viewed, how they pay them as the top dudes. So the Myles Garrett's got to be dominant. The JOK's got to have a better game. You know what I'm saying? The Denzel Wards, when the ball hits you in the hand, you got to pick that off. Now things just ramp up where now everybody got to be a little more locked in, a little more dialed in. And, it's so funny. I watched the, all 22, and I got a chance to go over it. And what's so funny is when you look at it, and Dustin, you know this, there are plays where you watch every single one of these plays, and there are 9 guys doing great jobs. Mm-hmm. It's just 2 guys.
That's it. That's all it takes.
2 guys where you don't run the right route. You don't slide the protection the right way. Deshaun throws the ball behind somebody. A person is out of their gap and gives up 4 yards instead of 2 and keep the drive going. So it's really frustrating because if you look at it in a vacuum, you just say, look, we did some decent things, but it's just every single play there's another person breaking down. It's just different.
Look, I think the reality of the situation is this. You've got a team that played so poorly on Sunday that we're looking at every single thing with a fine-tooth comb as to why the world is ending and to why this team is doomed.
Is it not that bad?
I always think it's like, I always had a coach who said in college, he's like,
never as bad, never as good.
It's like the golf shot, man. You hit it off the tee, you're like, man, that's a sweet shot. You get up there, you're 25 feet from the hole. Yeah. So it's never as good as you think, never as bad as you think. I think it's the case with the Browns right now. And because everything is, sky is falling, these injuries are like, oh. Now the problem with that is, in that locker room, the guys feel that too. And you start to feel like, man, everything's going against us. You play the victim in a lot of cases, and they need something positive to happen like now.
They've got to win this.
They've got to win this game. Yeah. It's so crucial for the team internally and for morale to not let this slip away. Because what can happen, Jay, is this season could slip away like in September. Yeah. Be done for the year.
Let me ask you about that, because Friday, remember we had the conversation where I said every team starts with their balloon filled with 100% optimism. Everybody is in first place. It's a new day. It's a new season. And I had said, we gave the example, I said, now, look, they go out there and lose 35-7, and the thing is popped, and all the optimism is gone. Because we were talking about a silver lining in defeat. If Watson plays great, they lose on a last-second field goal to Dallas, look, you've got some optimism moving forward, like Baltimore felt after the KC loss.
Yeah.
In your experience, now, I know at Ohio State, when you lose, the optimism is at negative. You can't lose a game. But take us into an NFL locker room. When you lose that season opener game and you've got big aspirations for the season, where is their optimism balloon right now?
It's tough. You lose any game in the league, it feels like you've lost a season.
Isn't the first one though?
The first one is always bigger because it sets the tone, I think, for the season. But like every game, you put so much time and effort into it, and it's one per week, right? That you really have to balance the ride of the roller coaster, because the highs can get super high, the lows can get super low. Right now, the lows are way low for the team heading into this Jacksonville game, because there's so much uncertainty with how your quarterback play is going to be. the situation off the field, that's one thing. The rest of the team, the injuries you bring into it, you bring in the coaching situation with the play call. Like, there's just a lot of things that are like up in the air right now that need to be stabilized, and I don't know how, other than them winning the game this week, that will happen.
Guys, let me ask you all this. Forget the stats, forget the PFF grades. Eye test. Was there anybody that you saw that played well for the Browns on Sunday?
Not that I saw.
Dustin?
Yeah,
Anybody stand out at
there
all?
were guys that made some plays. I mean, I thought our defensive line at times, especially early in the game, were
No,
getting
guys
after
made
it.
plays.
Yeah.
Miles Garrett
But
made
what do you mean?
a
I mean,
play. But
sure.
when we say played well, like, you're going to grade out at an A+.
Well, there are players that graded out well, but there are G. Bush knows this. He played a position that's not sexy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, we're not watching the guards and we're not
Yeah.
watching
No, but nobody
the defensive
jumped
tackles.
off the screen. Like when
Nobody
you were
jumped
watching,
off the screen, no.
And we talked about this too on Friday. I think G said that Myles Garrett is underrated, and I brought up the reason that he's not is because when the game is in the balance and you need plays, I don't see him make enough of those. I watched the Steelers, and all day long, from the first quarter to the last gun, TJ Watt was making one impact play after another. It was incredible. It was to the point where I was actually calling out in big situations, 3rd and 3. I go, here goes TJ Watt.
it's pretty remarkable.
Boom.
He's
He
unblockable.
makes every clutch play. And then when you watch the Browns too, on the other side of the line, they had a guy that was doing the same thing. He controlled the game. Micah Parsons played up to his reputation. And Myles Garrett did not. He did make one play, but for the most
Yeah.
part, and you said it about with JOK, like, this is a guy now that we're going to hold to a Pro Bowl standard. Didn't jump off the screen at me.
Yeah, those are great examples. I guess more along the lines I was thinking of skill position guys, because I don't think there's one guy in the Browns on Sunday that had a chance to touch the football that played well. Like, no skill positions played well. I thought the quarterback position was atrocious. The running backs, I mean, no one who touched the football did anything exceptional.
No.
What
they
did
were
you
all.
guys say? Shaun King's in the wings,
Yeah.
former quarterback.
Yeah.
We're going to bring him in to talk about Deshaun Watson. One point really quickly. We were all excited to see Tom Brady, and I'm sure you guys talked about it Monday. I wasn't here, so I didn't get a chance. I was really underwhelmed
I thought
with
he was
Tom
terrible.
Brady. I thought he was bad.
Yeah.
I give him slack because it's week 1. You know how hard it is in that booth for the first time.
So
I know how hard it is. I'm going to cut him a lot of slack. I will say this, though. At one point, the most interesting thing said in the broadcast was by Kevin Burkhardt when he said, this Browns offense is putrid.
Yeah, no, he's honest.
Like,
I
he
mean,
didn't hold back, and I was hoping to get that from Tom Brady, and I didn't get it.
Listen, some of the pacing, his voice, I'll give him a pass on some of that because he's new.
Right.
But in terms of there's no personality whatsoever.
No, but you'll understand this. It does take a while for a guy to find his voice.
I get it. I get it.
And
But
I'm giving him some slack,
and he's
but not a
got
lot.
to be critical. You got to be
Yes, he's gotta-
critical.
he's
You
got-
can't be vanilla
because
on everything.
The reason he's in there is because he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's got more insight on the most important position in sports than anyone.
Yes.
I need it.
I got to tell you this from experience and doing this for over a decade. For Tom Brady to step in that booth, not only does he have a million things going on, there's more things he has to think about before the snap than he had to think about when he was playing.
You're probably right because he
he's
didn't
got,
have to
he's
think
got
about
10
that
monitors,
stuff. It happened.
Yeah.
3 people in his ear,
Yeah.
trying to focus on the play, staying out of his play-by-play guy's way,
Yep.
and then also trying to deliver a point.
It's tough.
It's very difficult.
It's tough,
I give him
so-
a pass, and I think it's a tough spot to be in. He's making all the money in the world, so he should be prepared and had a million trial runs and all those good things. But give him a pass.
Yeah,
Takes
for
time.
now we do. All right.
Speaking of passes, let's bring on someone who knows a thing or two about completing some passes at the highest levels. That is Shaun King, who joins us now, brought to us by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel right now is something a little different for everyone. Starting now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime you want. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Shaun King to the program. How you doing today, Shaun?
I'm good, fellas. Listen, the truth does not have emotions, man. Tom Brady doesn't color outside the lines. That's why he's a marketing dream.
Oh, he's boring.
His brains don't have to worry.
He was
His
so
brains
boring.
don't
They're
have-
wasting money on him, Sean.
Well, what did they think they were getting? He makes $1 gazillion because brands don't have to worry about him saying anything outside of the ordinary. The hard part about that job, because I've done it before, I think Dustin has too,
Yeah.
It's just telling the truth about people that you're friends with, people that you communicate with. Can you criticize them on national TV even when it's the right thing to do?
I'll tell you what,
you're going
Sean,
to hear from them when
Sean,
you do it.
It gets a lot easier when you've been out of the league for 15 years and then you don't know anybody. So then you can be super critical.
Yeah, right.
Hey, but we're not here to talk about Tom Brady because Tom Brady's got his rings. The Patriots fan base loves him. The Bucs fan base loves him. We're here to talk about the Cleveland fan base, who's had 38 different starting quarterbacks since 1999. You talked about the optimism bubble, Jay Crawford. They just want great quarterback play. They've never seen the 85 touchdown, 28 interception Deshaun Watson that the Texans saw the last 3 years that he played there. They've seen the 15 touchdown, 11 interception guy the 3 years he's been in Cleveland.
Hey, so Sean, I'm going to tell you what. I got a chance to watch the All-22, and the first thing that jumped out on me was the fact that there were guys open. There were guys open. The gimme throws, some of the gimme throws are there, and sometimes he's running out of a clean pocket. So there is some stuff that I saw in I was waiting for you to get up here because I wanted to cross-reference it because there are some throws that are there, even though when you watch the regular game, you're like, man, ain't nobody open or the line. But there was some throws to be had there.
Well, let me address that point here. I think the organization has to reevaluate how they view the preseason. The NFL is the only professional sports league out of the group that doesn't take the opportunity to have practice reps, live practice reps. Everybody wants to sit their starters in the preseason. We don't want to get hurt. Deshaun Watson and those 10 other starters on offense needed reps. Yes. They look rusty. They look out of whack at times. They didn't look like they were ready for a game that actually counts on the record books. But I'm going to start here because hopefully I'll be on here every week. We're going to start with what I feel like is the greatest issue surrounding Deshaun Watson. When you look around the league, the great ones, the ones that come through, whether things are going great or going bad, are the ones that have what I call bulletproof emotions. It's around 2 seeds. They don't get too high that they lose control. They don't get too low that they lose confidence. For context and reference, a guy that gets too high is Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans. He throws a comeback route on a rope. I mean, he's on the sideline rubbing his hair. He's yelling at people. I mean, you think he's the lead role in a movie, and he comes back and does what? He implodes, right? He throws a pick six to the Bears. They take it down. Man. They win the game. A guy that gets too low and loses confidence is Daniel Jones from the Giants. You can tell the minute that there's an incompletion, he gets that bewildered look in his eyes. The head goes down. He goes to the sideline. Team has no confidence in him whatsoever. Deshaun has to get better control of his emotions. He's an apex predator, but he doesn't act like it. An apex predator goes out to hunt, right? But he don't always kill something, right? He don't always come back, but he doesn't lose confidence. He gets back up, he goes and hunts again. I don't see that swag with Deshaun that I saw in Houston. Wow. That belief that made everybody around him confident no matter what was going on in the game.
Sean, can you get that back?
That's what we're trying to find out. I think you can get it back if you hadn't gotten paid. I think it's harder to get it back when you've already now got the big bag. I think Marvin Hagler said it best. It's hard to get up and run when you sleep in satin sheets, right? So is the hunger still there? Is the hunger still there? Does he desire now for his legacy to be of an elite quarterback now that he's already gotten paid? That's only a question that Deshaun Watson can answer.
Unlike Tom Brady, Sean is not afraid to be questioning guys.
I love it.
Which is great.
That's what we want.
And I had Sean on my podcast about a month ago, and he was fantastic. And I remember asking Sean, what about the mental hurdles that Deshaun Watson could get over, and what about this, and what about that? And your response was basically like, get over it already. Let's go. Play ball. There's no excuses. And there's been a lot of excuses made for Deshaun. We're seeing them again after this game. And I'm with you. Like, I wasn't thinking that way. You kind of moved me in this direction, and now even more so. I don't want to hear any excuses. He's got to play better. They paid him what they did, and they traded what they did for him to lead them and be the star on this team. And he's been anything but his entire time here, in my opinion.
And I think that's a part of sitting on the Iron Throne. I don't know how many of you guys watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Damn,
one of the greatest ever. Right? That's one of the one things about sitting on the Iron Throne that comes with it is criticism, ridicule, malice. That's a part of being at the top. People trying to pull you down. I think Deshaun did some good things in the game. I think he looked rusty at times. I'm going to talk about a sequence of drives in the second quarter where I thought he played his worst football and the game kind of got out of hand. But the talent's there. Guys, there's a situation, I think it was the second drive of the second quarter. He gets out of a sack that maybe only 2 or 3 other guys in the National Football League can get out of. But then he doesn't complete the play. Akins is wide open. He throws it a little short. Like, he's close, but he's got to will himself to get back to being a guy that not only makes great plays, but believes that he's going to make the great plays.
Shaun, talking about the psyche of the quarterback, I think we all agree it's the most important position in all of sports. It's so much of the outcome hinges on the play of the quarterback. I remember in your early days in Tampa, there was a lot of going back and forth. You came in and you took the team on a run, and I believe you made it all the way to the NFC title game against the Rams. In the offseason here, there was a situation where Joe Flacco came in last year and willed this team to the playoffs. He balled out. There's no other way to say it. We had the conversation on the set. I was insistent, you have got to bring Joe Flacco back. That offense clicked, and it looked as good as it has since Baker Mayfield had success here. And there were those on the panel that said, no, he's got to go because he's going to be a distraction. Deshaun doesn't want him here. At first bad play, you're going to have the fans screaming for Joe Flacco. So he's gone. He's not here anymore. He's not an option. What do you make of all of that talk about getting the competition out of town to grease the skids for success for a thin-skinned rabbit ears starter?
Well, let's be honest here. The only person that's not getting fired in the building over with the Browns facility is Deshaun Watson. When they wrote that guaranteed 5-year deal, he's there. So if guys are going to fall this year, here's how I think it's going to go. It'll start with Ken Dorsey, and then Stefanski will go back to calling plays, and if it doesn't get better when that happens, then it'll end with Stefanski, and they'll bring a whole new staff in. But Deshaun Watson's not getting benched unless he's hurt. He's not getting fired because he's on a guaranteed contract, which is why the rest of the NFL was looking at the Browns with a side eye when they signed him to that guaranteed deal. It really prevents you from moving on from said player.
Yeah, but still, to have a competent backup in the system, to me,
I don't know. Jameis is a competent backup.
I'd rather have Joe Flacco.
The Browns
he at least had time in the system.
Jay, I agree with your general point that they shouldn't run him out because the starting quarterback is soft if we feel that's the reason. But ultimately, you're not winning in the playoffs with Joe Flacco, so what's the difference?
No, you're not. But if this play continues at some point, and you're right, Deshaun, they can't fire him. They're stuck with him. But if it looks like this for the first 4 or 5 games,
you got to play Jameis at some point.
You got to make a switch. Yeah. And my point to that is, I would much rather switch to a guy that played in this offense last year and had success than a guy that's new to the system and who knows what we're going to get from Deshaun or from Jameis Winston.
That's why people are a little upset. I'm along the lines of you. Like when Jimmy Haslam wrote that check, and they brought Deshaun in here, and they put all the assets and things in it. Oh, they're gonna play him 17 weeks, and that's just the angst that people gonna have to deal with. It may look bad, but they're gonna play. They're gonna let the thing ride out for at least 17 games, so he gets his money worth. That's. Am I wrong in that?
Not at all. And if we're being honest, Dallas is a really good football team, and Deshaun Watson is not the only reason the Browns lost to the Cowboys, but because he's the most high profile, because he has the guaranteed contract, to whom much is given, much is required. And he just has to embrace that and understand that when this team has success, he's probably going to get the credit. When they don't have success, he's probably going to get the blame. He's got to prepare himself for that, and he's got to go out and be Deshaun Watson. Stop trying to fit into this bubble of a pocket quarterback. Like the gift that God gave you, the gift that Joe Flacco goes to sleep at night and wishes that he had was the ability to change the game from an athletic standpoint. He's got to be better when he leaves the pocket of keeping his head downfield, creating explosive plays, not just scrambling to run, but scrambling to allow big plays to happen down the field. Like there's so many talents and gifts that he has that I feel like he minimizes himself on game day trying to be something that he's not.
Great point. Mike?
Sean, when we were talking about setting this segment up, you had mentioned the word emotionally hijacked when going through the All-22, looking at Deshaun in the second quarter, and especially those 3 drives when the game was 7-3 to then 14-3 to then 17-3. You want to walk us through what you mean when you said you thought Deshaun got emotionally hijacked during those biggest moments?
So if we revisit the game, first quarter really, it was a fill-out process. It was 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. Cleveland gets the ball. He's got Elijah Moore wide open in the middle of the field. He kind of throws the ball in the dirt. Low ball, Elijah can't catch it. Should have been 1st and 10. Cleveland should have been on their way to potentially, taking the lead in this game. Next play, David Njoku. And sorry we don't have the actual visual component for this week. Njoku's on like a chip. He chips Micah Parsons, goes in the flat. If Deshaun throws an accurate ball front shoulder, that's probably a first down. Throws the ball behind Njoku. He ends up gaining 7 yards on 3rd and 9. They have to punt. Now, why I bring those up is because these are 2 clean pocket throws where Deshaun is just inaccurate in a game that's 7-3. Dallas goes down, scores a touchdown. Now it's 14-3. He comes back. This was the one I said when he got out of that sack that very few quarterbacks in the league can get out of, but he misses Jordan Akins. Tough throw, but listen, man, he's got to make that because he's capable of making that. Then he comes back after that, and this might have been the worst decision, worst throw of the game. I think he's trying to throw the ball to Amari Cooper, but it looks like it's 5 Cowboys that have a better chance of catching this ball than Amari does. Browns end up punting. Now Dallas is up 17-3. And when you're playing a good team, they got great players, they're going to make some plays. Subsequent 3rd drive of the second quarter, Micah Parsons makes a great play, tips the ball up in the air. It gets intercepted. Dallas now is up 20-3. And just like that, stuff that Deshaun can control. I'm talking about when there's a clean pocket, open wide receiver, I would expect an average NFL quarterback to convert those opportunities and situations. And this is where Deshaun has to improve. He has to make his layups. And by that, I mean when there's a clean pocket, a guy's open, he's too talented to miss these opportunities.
That's excellent stuff right there. And I love your phrasing, emotionally hijacked, because what was a 7-3 game, a few mistakes later, you blink, and now you're down 14 points, and it really, at that point, it felt like there's no coming back. And I felt like, too, the first drive of the second half, I felt like, okay, it's not good, but if you can drive down the field, have a sustained drive, get some plays from Deshaun and score a touchdown, you're in it. They go 3 and out, and then they give up the punt return.
Game over.
Game over.
Yeah.
Like you can go home at that point. And we were all emotionally hijacked at that point.
Yeah.
He's got to make. I love your phrasing. You've got to make your layups.
Sean, you know the crazy thing about it is, like you said, there were actually some good stuff that he actually did when you watch the All-22. The one Jordan Akins, if he gets out of the crazy blitz, he gets outside of the pocket, and what made Deshaun Watson so lethal back in Houston was he would get out of the pocket and his eyes were downfield, and he would get these huge gains from his receivers, and he just skips the ball. He didn't get enough on it. Do you think, and I asked this question to a lot of people, is it still in there? Is he a guy that can thrive outside of those thrive in chaos and still make plays, or do you think he's more of a guy that needs to learn to be a system guy if he still wants to play in this league as a competent starter?
I feel like he has to exhaust everything at his – he's got to put everything on the table as far as how to get himself into a mentally stable position where his confidence exudes through his body language. Like when you watch Josh Allen play, when you watch Patrick Mahomes play, no matter what's going on in that game, you just look at them, man, they better not get that ball back. They're in trouble. Like, those guys going to make something happen. Sometimes, and this is where I feel like Deshaun has to be honest with himself, his emotions kind of ebb and flow with the outcomes from play to play. He's kind of got like that nonchalant, natural demeanor, and sometimes it comes off as, okay, if we win, cool. If we don't win, cool. Who cares? I got 230 coming. That's how people are going to perceive it, whether that's how he intends to perceive or not. So that's where he's got to start. I don't know if he needs to go see a specialist. And I'm not saying this from a sarcastic way, man. Sometimes talking to somebody will help you through some stuff, especially when you're mentally, unsure of how to become that apex predator you used to be.
All right, so the Browns have what I consider to be a must-win this week to really get this awful taste out of their mouth of this loss to Dallas. So Jacksonville this weekend, Jacksonville, they lose a tough one to Miami. They're leading the whole damn game. Things are going well, and then all of a sudden things don't go well late for them. What do you see this weekend, this matchup? I mean, Jacksonville's going to be favored by, I think, a field goal or so in this game on the road for the Cleveland Browns. But I don't know, man. I feel like the Browns could be 0-2 real quick.
So, Dustin, I'm going to push back just a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think there's a so-called thing as a must-win game in Week 2 in the NFL. The only reason I say that,
I hear you.
All the Buccaneer teams I was on that ended up going far in the playoffs, we started 3-4 in the first 7. So, when you break up the NFL like most organizations do in the quarters, even if you start 0-2, and I know it's 17 games now, so it's not actually exactly 4-4-4-4, you could still end up 2-2 in that first quarter.
Right.
I think what you need to see in the Jaguars game is an offense that's more in tune with their personnel, a quarterback that's playing with more confidence. What no one's talking about is I don't think Ken Dorsey did a great job of getting Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore and Njoku and all these guys in space with the football. Like, Nick Chubb is hurt. Jerome Ford is not a 15-plus in-between the tackle carry guy. You got to be creative. Get him some swings, some swing passes, some screens. Get him the ball in the open field so he can utilize that elite speed he has. Why isn't Amari Cooper getting opportunities down the field to make contested catches? Why isn't Jerry Jeudy being used more like Cooper Kupp? You saw how the Rams used Cooper Kupp Sunday night, moved him around, got him in mismatches against linebackers. Like, some of this falls on Ken Dorsey as well.
Hey, Shaun, last thing. Obviously, the last couple of years, offense has been trending down. After many, many years of it trending up, it's been going down. This first week of the season, it was the 5th lowest average passing yards per game in about the last 20 years. I think there were 20 quarterbacks that didn't even throw for 200 yards. And we saw points go down last year, but this was even more dramatic in Week 1. Do you think we're going to continue to trend this way with less passing yards for the first time in a long time?
Absolutely, because they're paying the position now instead of the player. So there's a lot of quarterbacks out there with job stability that shouldn't have it. I mean, you can't tell me that Tua is worth more money than Josh Allen. Like, you can't tell me that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert deserve to be paid the same level as Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like, the way the NFL is trending, it doesn't really matter who you are at quarterback. Your contract has got to be up, and they're going to pay you.
Yeah,
and
that seems to be the case.
The complete opposite at running back, Jay. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are at running back. They're not going to pay you.
They'll let you
and
go.
I think that's a dangerous road to go down, and that's why the quarterback play is inadequate, because a lot of guys got job stability that haven't really earned it and don't really deserve it.
That's really interesting. Very interesting. We've talked last year. I was making the point that I thought the defenses have caught up. Franchises have just started putting more assets into the defensive side of the ball. They had to, because the passing games were really taking over and having their way. Shaun, we got to run. We're going to have you back next week. Phenomenal first job. Great to have you on. We're looking forward to seeing you all season.
Appreciate you.
Thanks,
All right,
Shaun.
fellas, keep. Yep.
Shaun King, he was fun to cover when I was in Tampa Bay. He was fun to work with when we were both at ESPN. And I have every confidence that he's going to give us great insight on Deshaun Watson all year long.
And I got something coming with him too that is going to add a little element to these.
Yes,
hopefully
you do.
we can make that work.
Yes.
Got a little breaking news, guys. I'll get that after a word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some big-time wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available for U.S. customers. While Shaun King was on, we got a statement from Rusty Hardin on behalf of Deshaun Watson. We also learned Deshaun is going to speak to the media today. I want to read you guys the statement from Rusty Hardin, who is still Deshaun Watson's attorney. I get a little quick reaction.
Can you do it in his accent? Can you read in his accent, please?
With a cowboy hat on?
I wish I could. I actually failed an
Why
accent
don't you put it up there? I'll try to do it in his accent.
Let me read it first just so everyone can truly
I can't
understand
read
it,
that.
and then you
Too
can see
small.
it. But Rusty Hardin in his statement says, quote, Deshaun strongly denies the allegations in the Jane Doe lawsuit filed Monday. We have asked him not to comment further while this matter works its way through the courts, but are comfortable he will ultimately be vindicated. We will be ready to defend this case in court at the appropriate time, but don't intend to conduct our defense in the media. We would ask that people be patient while the legal process runs its course. In the meantime, Deshaun is going to focus his energy and concentration on football.
I thought you said Watson's going to speak.
He is speaking to the media.
He's
today.
not going to speak about this.
Oh.
He's going to talk to the media, and he'll probably have a preemptive, maybe Peter or somebody's going to come
He'll
up
have
there.
a statement, I'm guessing, to say that he's not going to talk about it.
Well, I don't even know that he'll say that. I
okay.
think maybe a Brown spokesperson will come up and say, Deshaun's going to come out here. He is not going to answer questions about the latest allegations. If any of those questions are asked, he's going to turn from the podium and walk away. He wants to talk about football. 0 to 100 on that statement, and I don't love everything Rusty Hardin has done in Shaun's defense. But 0 to 100, I give that 100. I think that hit all the nails. I think he said everything he needed to say. I like the fact that he said specifically, we are not going to defend this case through the media.
If I were, again, I'm not Deshaun Watson.
Right.
We all have different life experiences.
Yep.
One of the most important being he's black and I'm white. And
Yep.
that doesn't matter.
It absolutely does.
That matters when it comes to the court. It matters when it comes to public opinion. It shouldn't, but it does. But what I would say is, if I were in Deshaun Watson's shoes, I'm not, so I'm just trying to imagine what I would do if I was in Deshaun Watson's shoes. I would not let Rusty Hardin put out that statement. I would get in front of microphones and say, this is a lie. I never touched her.
Yeah, that's my.
And that's it. That's how I would do it.
I agree with that too.
But
100%.
It's not.
I didn't do it.
It's
I
not
want
his
to tell
forte,
people.
though, man. Like, he's not good
No,
in front of the
he's
microphone.
not as gifted in front of the microphone as some, and I agree with you. That would be my preference. I need to tell people I didn't do this. I need for them to look in my face and I can tell them this didn't happen. But
and your counsel,
short of that, I thought this was good.
Your counsel is going to say, Jay,
Don't do it.
Jay,
You're right.
you hired us for a reason.
Don't do it.
You
But
have
Bull,
a job.
But Bull said
Let
his
me-
inclination,
Yeah.
and mine is too.
Everybody's inclination.
No,
All I would
no.
say, gee, if he's innocent, though,
That's not the
what
way-
do you have to
See,
lose?
right,
That's
here's
not
what
the
I
way
would
the
do.
legal system
no,
works,
I know,
Bull.
but gee, I understand that, and primarily because they're afraid that opens the can,
It
and then
does.
all the questions come, and then he might say something later.
That's true.
However, all of that being said, it's my life, and it's my reputation and career. So I'm going to tell my attorneys, I will follow your advice with the exception of I am going to make an opening salvo. I am absolutely innocent. I will defend myself in court and I will be vindicated. That's my statement. No questions. That's it.
Yeah.
No more questions, bro.
No more questions, bro.
I mean, listen.
Now you can't get tripped up.
I think those are all good ideas. I think what Bull said is a good idea. I mean, I would personally step in front of the microphone and say, with conviction, why I didn't do it, or not why, but I mean that I didn't do it. Essentially, is what you would do. I guess because he has not done that yet, and there's been so many cases, it would be for me as an outsider. Or
no, he has defended him.
No, I know, but not like what you're talking about now.
Right, I
like
see.
this staunch, like, no, not doing it.
This is one allegation, and it is far more serious than the others. That's why it's treated
I guess
different.
I would have thought he would do that to begin with, and he didn't. Like that, like outwardly, like, no, we're not dealing with this. We're not paying anybody.
Like 7 o'clock Monday night.
Correct.
Just call a news conference, come forward, and say this is going to last
But that doesn't
45 seconds.
Just because he didn't do that doesn't mean that he's not or shouldn't be vindicated if he didn't do it. I'm just saying that would be one way to sort of win over the public a little more.
I don't.
And we ultimately are not in his shoes.
I don't think anything that he's going to say in front of that screen is going to make anybody turn their head and say, "Oh my goodness, he said he didn't do it." I think he didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think now. I don't think there's anything to do now.
No, because there's trust equity has been lost.
So my thing is, when you're a lawyer, your lawyer the worst thing you can do at all times when you listen, trust me, because we talk about getting pulled over all the time. Well, I go through.
You speed a lot?
Nah, I'm just black sometimes.
I understand.
He's driving while black.
So like,
Yeah, y'all are funny, man.
DWB.
like so no, I'm not joking. Like sometimes, like I read my rights. Like I go through the state law. Like okay. Just the other day, and this don't have, and trust me, this doesn't have to do with race. It's just about, like, my wife was pulled over, they said, where you going, right? And she was just walking down the street, where you going? Now, I'm looking at it, and I'm glad.
She was walking down the street, and a cop pulled up on her and said, where are you going?
Yeah, are you lost?
So it was in a vein to help her, not to.
I don't know, either or.
That doesn't sound like I'm trying.
Either or. All I'm saying is I had to look up to figure out, like, if a cop asks you for your identification, do you have to give it to him, right? Like, if a cop pulls you over, what is the protocol on whether
did Tyreek Hill take you down this road?
Yeah, like so. Yeah, the Tyreek Hill situation. So you got to know your rights.
But you do have to show identification.
You do in the state of Ohio. You do have to
do.
show identification. Now here's the thing. Where I'm going with this is this: like when you're Deshaun Watson. And you're not a very good public speaker. He is not a person that is trained to talk about this. And sometimes when you are emotional, and you are emotional to a point where even if you didn't do something, you want to go on the attack. You want to say, I can't believe someone said this. And when you start talking, now the recorder is rolling, right? That nothing he says is going to help him in a vein, because they can use that and say, well, listen, you said this. Wow, you seem kind of angry. You seem kind of angry.
You can't get into the specifics of what their
I think you are right. I would want to scream innocent.
Yes,
but you are right. There really is no benefit. It's in the court of public opinion. Nobody's going to believe him.
How much involvement? And it probably varies team and player.
Yeah.
But how much involvement do the teams have in getting in front of these PR nightmares? Because he's got three voices in his ear. He's got his own, and then he's got the team.
His team.
And then he's got his lawyers.
Yeah.
So, in your experience...
I say even more than that, Jay, because he's got his guys around him. His entourage.
I would put that in with his lawyers, like his team.
His team.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, when these things come down, there are meeting after meeting after meeting. Like, take us through
I never
what
experienced it firsthand, but I was on teams where there were some controversies. I was on the Love Boat team in Minnesota.
How was that handled internally?
It was a lot. We had a lot of closed door meetings about like how to handle it in the press and what to say and like all these things. But that was as a team. I can't imagine. Like I remember I was in Buffalo, and this was like when Marshawn got arrested for, I think he was a hit and run or something, late night downtown Buffalo. And like, yeah, these situations, the team tries as best they can to get in front of it and give the player advice. Now this is way different because you got so many different people involved in different states and different lawyers and all these things that I can't even imagine the amount of people and voices trying to give advice to Deshaun Watson and what he's supposed to listen to. It's got to be really, really tough because you want to trust the people that you believe are giving you the best, the best information in your best interest. And at the end of the day, I don't know that the team necessarily is going to be looking out for your best interest.
Yeah, they're looking out for their best
team.
interest.
Right. So I think you have to listen to your attorneys and listen to the people that you believe.
And G's right. They're all going to tell him, don't say a word.
Yeah.
Not a word.
I would just listen to my counsel, period.
The only thing is there will be optics of that because even though there's going to be the preemptive, there's going to be a piece of tape that we run tonight on Channel 3 and all the stations in town, and they run it on ESPN. There's going to be a piece of tape, whether it's the Browns preemptively telling the media not to ask about it, or Deshaun starting his scrum with a comment where he says, I know you guys want to talk about the allegations. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm here to talk about football. That's going to be the clip that we have that we have to parse over. And people look at it and say, I don't know, man, he doesn't look very convincing to me. And so everything is going to be dissected, and that's what happens when, and Shaun made that point, when you're the top dog, you better be ready for the fire. And there's talk that there might be a burner account that he started or someone in his camp started, which would be like the absolute last thing you would want to do.
Is this Kevin Durant all over again?
It feels like
the burner is alive and well. No, look, and the lawyer who is representing the women with the allegations,
Tony Busby.
This is what the intent is for, right?
Sure.
Because when you bring the allegations or you bring the claims forward, it sets the media wheel in order. Now we have to talk about it. Like, it's not like we could just say, "Hey, Deshaun Watson, Jacksonville." No, we have to. We're obligated to speak on it because he is the quarterback of the team, and obviously he's the face, whether you like it or not, of what the Browns are trying to do. So now, since it's set in motion, we talk about it. When we talk about it, the league is always doing this, guys. They're sticking their finger in the air and they're gauging. When that public sentiment get to a certain level, that's when the wheels of justice begin to act. I don't want to have to go back and remember, there was nothing that happened to Ray Rice in the beginning. Tape came out. They said, "Oh,
game changer."
Yeah.
That's
he
a
never
game
touched
changer.
a blade of grass on an NFL field after that.
So they're doing this, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what is the public sentiment about this? And the goal of, obviously, the lawyer is to try to get these things done. And if we could put pressure on you to say, hey, look, you're playing bad, and a lot of people in the middle ground, like you said, Dustin, a couple days ago, there are some people who are never going to believe Watson. There are some people on the other end of the spectrum that are going to believe anything he said. They're going to protect him. But for the majority of the people in Cleveland, all we are is sports fans that want to see the team win. And when these things pile on and you have bad play and you add this, the natural inclination as a fan is to say, hey, man, this ain't worth it.
I agree with that. The sentiment from Monday night on has been enough. Get rid of him.
I just want to play well.
I am too.
I'm in that camp.
I am in that camp as well.
I think it's most fans are in the camp of enough's enough. Like, can we just move on from all of this?
And the tipping point was 2 points, really. It was the fact that he played so poorly. Trust me, had he balled out 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and we won the game,
that allegation,
there would be a pocket of fans that were like, oh, I don't believe her. I got to, But because of the way he played, and because this is the most serious and damning allegation, I think it was a torrent of fans that basically said, oh, my God, when does it end? Enough.
I was in a store, I'll shout out to Cleveland Bagel this morning.
One of the best.
And they have a new location in Lakewood.
Very good.
It's always crowded. And I met a guy who was a big fan of the show.
You get a little lox this morning?
No, they didn't have any lox. We just went plain bagel and cream cheese. Left off the lox. I do love lox.
Money.
Love lox. Yeah. It was boring, but I don't know. I didn't want to eat lox on the way to work. But anyway, so I met this guy Carson, really nice guy. He's a huge fan of the show, and I talked to him for a couple minutes, and he just at one point he just said, he almost was like, what are we gonna do about Deshaun Watson? I just felt so bad for the guy.
Dude,
he was so exasperated.
It's hard being a Browns
everybody
fan for
feels
the last
right
3
now.
years.
It's not fair.
And most of that centers around number 4.
I give you the last 7 or 5. I just say 5.
Well,
right?
I mean, we beat the Steelers in a playoff game 4 years ago.
But when we got good, look at the arc. This isn't the first time we've been arguing about everything. We argued to death about Odell Beckham Jr. Mm-hmm. We argue at the end. We argued to death about Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, but
then we argue obsessively about Baker. Then we've been arguing
But now it seems like the argument's over. Like, I agree with you. There were 2 strong camps on all of those points. But now, to me, it feels like everybody has jumped into the camp where we're like, enough.
Right. We're just enough. People are just tired. So he did a masterful job because he just put this on the scales. And it's very easy to, when them scales start tipping, and you start to be like, listen, I don't got the bandwidth for this, man. It's like arguing in a relationship, and you know the marriage is going bad. Mm-hmm. After a while, the little small stuff that you think you would be able to, weather the storm. Trust me, I done had a divorce. You go home and be like, listen, man, I don't care what we eat. I don't want to, listen, I don't want to care where we're going. Your in-laws are here. Let me get you to go to my basement. I'm over it. Like, you're just over it.
So after doing this, and Dustin and I did this every year for a while, and now we haven't done it in a while, but for the first time in a long time, we may be talking about quarterback in the draft this year.
Oh, we got to wait on that. We can't do that week 2.
It's week two's
No,
too early.
but I'm
Week
saying
two's
at the
too
end of
early.
this year, if this goes badly,
if this experiment
we
after
can't.
3 years doesn't
Then
prove
it's over.
fruit,
yeah.
it's a wrap.
Right. So then you're
a wrap.
talking about drafting a quarterback again.
Bolts,
And
when
then
you
it
say
will go
that-
down as one of the worst
I would say the
trades
second worst trade
in
behind
not
that.
just team history but NFL
What do you
history.
think, Quinn for the win?
Oh,
Quinn Ewers?
Oh, come on, McNuggets, hurry up! Hurry up!
Only trade worse is the Herschel Walker.
Hurry up!
I agree with that.
And real quick,
I agree
last
with
point
that.
on that, Bull. Ryan Wilson, who works for CBS Sports, he's been on the show before. I like Ryan a lot. Put out his first mock draft 2 weeks ago, had the Browns drafting Quinn Ewers. And people
Did he
went
really?
absolute and he just said it's a mock draft. It's before the season. Who the hell knows? But he had the Browns drafting a quarterback. He
Please,
said, I don't think Watson's going to pan out. And he got eviscerated on Twitter. And I'm curious
People
if
get
that same
triggered
thing
by the
came out
stupidest
now.
things.
No, they
Let's see
really
what
do,
would happen.
Bull.
But you don't understand how miserable that QB talk. Like,
Oh, I know.
Like scouting QBs in the draft week 5 is miserable. You've done it.
It's a long,
Many
long
years.
process if it starts early.
And you know what? It's all pointless.
It's
because
miserable.
who said Brock Purdy was going to be a life-changing quarterback
Exactly.
coming out of the draft?
And you know
Nobody.
And you
True,
know
but
it's
that's
a crapshoot.
the exception, not the rule.
And you know
Tom Brady.
But
it
most-
happens every 25, 30 years. You're right.
Most of the good quarterbacks are drafted the top 40 picks in the draft.
And we have
And,
no,
and this
Even that,
guy
Bull,
was
the-
Mr. Irrelevant.
The hit rate of a top
it's
quarterback
crazy.
is
And by the way, watching
sub
Brock,
50.
watching Brock Purdy Monday night, I'm even more impressed by him now than I was last year when I said he was a top 5 quarterback. I think he's improved.
Do you guys get sick watching Tampa Bay play?
Well, they
I don't.
can't. I mean, I'm sure it turns Bull's stomach.
I don't know. I mean, the guy's a decent quarterback.
no,
no, he is a decent quarterback.
no.
I don't think he ever. First of all, he's played his best football in the last
Tampa,
year,
yeah.
right? I don't think he would have ever played this well had he stayed in Cleveland.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never
I
know.
think he needed to be humbled.
He did have a season where he played very similarly to the way he played last
I mean,
year.
he's
I
on
don't
3
agree.
teams in
Yeah,
a
he
year,
did.
man. That's a humbling
He
story.
did.
So I think-
2020, go look at his numbers.
If
Bull,
you
he
look
played
at
very well.
if you look at his numbers in Cleveland, he had the most turnovers over that 4-year span.
I understand that.
That's
He's
awful.
talking about the
I
2020
understand
year,
that, and
though.
that was second. That was his second year in the league. And go back and look at Peyton Manning's interceptions his first year.
Hey,
Set
look,
the
man.
record.
Hey, look.
I'm
Good.
talking about 4 years, not 1 year.
Hey,
Right. So there were stretches where he's played exactly the
Hey.
way he's playing in Tampa.
Good for that dude, man.
Yeah.
Like
I agree. Good for him.
His career was almost over. He was playing for like teams getting traded every week. His people stole money from him.
He wore 4 helmets in a little more than 1 calendar year.
I'm glad he out here doing this thing.
Yes.
Getting his team.
I
Where
mean,
More
it
power
looked
to
like
him.
it could have been over for him.
It was very close. When Carolina, it didn't work there, I thought, man,
Isn't it great? Isn't it a great story though about like in life, like just opportunity and where you're at matters
Oh, that
more
matters.
than your talent sometimes.
what's
matters.
interesting about that, Dustin, is he'd been given up on a lot in his
Yeah.
life early.
Yeah.
And he reclaimed.
Yeah.
And then his career arc looks
Resiliency
like
is
this.
unbelievable.
And you know what? There will probably be a valley that follows this
We'll
beat.
see.
But right now,
at the move, I still believe the Browns made the right move at the
At the
time.
time, for
it
sure.
hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
yeah,
But it
I
hasn't
didn't like
worked
it
out.
then. I hate it now.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little Guardians, guys. Yesterday, Bull and Zach did an Ultimate Guardian show. You can check it out on our YouTube page. Also, Ultimate Buckeye Show premieres at 5 o'clock today. Tyvis and Dustin taped a new episode this
Nice.
morning. It goes live at 5 o'clock.
How'd that go,
on
Dustin?
the
Oh, well.
YouTube channel.
Dang, listen. So what you want me to do? Like,
Oh, that's a good point. G. Bush is going at some point today.
so what do you want?
Run them back to back.
I'll talk to
Schedule yours
Steve.
for 6. Schedule
6?
yours for 6.
All right.
Perfect. So you got Ultimate Browns at
There you
6,
go.
Ultimate
Get a
Buckeyes
runway.
at 5. That is producing on
We're
the
like
fly.
a network now.
You got a nice
we
little
are.
lead in there.
It's like a network.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Guardians, though,
Lead
guys.
in.
A shutout win over the White Sox. Bull,
Yeah.
you said they had to sweep the White Sox. They've won the first 2, and they're playing some really good baseball.
I almost never say in baseball, because it's baseball, you got to sweep a series.
Yeah.
But they have to sweep the series.
Oh, there's no
The
question.
White Sox are not just a baseball team; they're the worst team in the history of the league. And the Guardians, until this series, were 5-5 against them,
Which is
insane.
It was one of the craziest stats all year.
Exactly. Where every other team in this division has just killed them. The AL Central has 4 teams over 500, and yet as a division they're under 500 because of the White Sox.
They could have 4 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think.
The
I think
Tigers
ultimately
are not
Detroit
out
will
of
full.
it.
Well, probably not, because they can't have 4 teams. Because if Detroit gets in, they're going to get in over Minnesota.
Why?
Because Baltimore and the Yankees are both getting in. There's
Are
3
they-
wild cards.
Yeah, but one of them's going to win the division.
Right.
Oh,
but-
yeah, the other one then, yeah, I should say.
Right.
Yeah, they
yeah,
can't catch them.
But the fact that
Yeah, you're right. You're
Detroit's played great, and they're still in it.
Playing
Quiet, completely under the radar.
They're playing the best
Detroit
baseball.
pitching Look at their pitching for the last 5 weeks.
good.
It's been lights out. And it's from they drafted Casey Mize high. He hasn't done anything. It's all these guys that have come out of nowhere, led by Scooble and a bunch of young guys. But the Guardians have to sweep this series. And by the way, after this series, they only have 3 more road games. Everything else is at home. They play Tampa.
Wait, the rest of the season?
Outside of one series.
St. Louis.
So how many games are the Guardians? What's the Guardians' record? They're 22 over, right?
Yeah, let's pull up the standings.
Bring up the stand. Okay.
21
So the Guardians, 145, have
games to go.
17 games left.
They only have
4 road games of the 17.
In St. Louis?
They have today against the White Sox, and then 3 in St. Louis. They're home for Tampa Bay and Minnesota.
and then they come home to end the season.
At St. Louis, and then they come home for Cincinnati and I think Houston. So, and those 2 series, Tampa Bay and Minnesota, are both 4-game series. So they have, I believe, I think it's 13 of their last 16 after today's White Sox game at home,
That's
where they've
incredible.
obviously been much
Where are
better.
they at in track for the top seed?
I believe they're a
game behind.
Did the Yankees win yesterday? I can't remember.
I think they lost. They got
so I
crushed.
think
They
they're
lost.
tied.
They have the exact same record.
Now the Yankees have the tiebreaker,
They do.
but right now they're tied. And more, I think getting the 1 seed is very important.
I agree
Talk
with
to me
that.
about positioning for like the home field and things like that. For
So-
the playoffs.
That's it, right
If
there.
you're the
You want-
one and the
seed.
if you're the 1 and the 2, you get a bye.
Yes.
And
If you're the one, you get the
have,
DS at home.
Right, and the
and if
CS
you
at
win,
home.
you get the CS at home.
I think it's most important against the Yankees.
I agree because we do
have
not
home
want to
field.
go there.
I do not want to play a deciding game in Yankee Stadium.
I don't either.
They're
We're
not winning
haunted
there.
by that place. Haunted.
Yeah.
with
And
you guys there.
listen, I don't think the Yankees are that great. I think the Guardians, when they're playing their best, are as good as anybody in the American League.
You know the deal, Bull.
But I think the Yankees are the most dangerous team.
The
for
pinstripes,
them.
man.
There's something about the pinstripes.
How
There
about
is.
Cantillo? What's crazy is when they broke spring training
Yeah.
in Arizona, all of those pitchers are gone except for Lively.
Right.
Carrasco out.
Bieber hurt.
Bieber lasted 6 days.
Yeah.
McKenzie's in the minors. Allen's in the minors.
He got the. Did you see his line his last start?
I did.
By the way, McKenzie pitched well out of the pen. I've been saying for a month I
keep
want to see him
saying
pitch out of the pen.
And I have not written him off
Yeah.
as a factor
Relief
in this
pitcher.
race.
Relief
Bring
pitcher.
him in. Use him as a 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy. You know?
Yeah, I
Use
think
him in there.
Yeah, when he doesn't have to worry about, I got to pitch for 5-6 innings.
I
He'll do it.
I need the rotation right now. Right?
Well,
what's the
Lively got
rotation?
hurt. I don't know what his status
I don't know
is.
what his
I don't
status
think
is
it's
either.
serious, but
it looked like they said it was a contusion.
yeah.
Boy, that was scary when it happened.
Yeah, ball got smoked.
Because I've taken a couple of those. When
Yeah.
you take them off the bone, there's easily a chance of a break.
Yeah.
It hit square in the leg.
Yeah.
So it's probably a deep bruise. He's going to feel it for a couple of days. I bet he doesn't miss a start.
Okay.
I mean, right now,
Right now.
Bibby's pitching game 1, obviously.
Bibby's your starter.
I think Matthew Boyd's got to be game 2.
Well, or
today, right?
is
Boyd?
is
Yeah.
it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's Boyd.
Well, Boyd's been their second best pitcher for the last month. Maybe their best pitcher for the last month. I mean, he's been
I'd
phenomenal.
argue their best pitcher, Bull. For the
Huh?
last month, he's not better than Bibby. For the last month, he's been their best pitcher.
Well, look at his numbers, for crying out loud.
That's what I'm saying. For
He's
the
been
last month, he's
ridiculous.
been better than Bibby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said for the last month he could be their best pitcher.
I'm agreeing with you. You
Oh,
said he might
oh,
be.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying no, he definitely is.
Yeah. So I thought when everybody was right that Lively would actually go to the pen because I think he's got the worst stuff of the 5. Gavin Williams is so unpredictable. But the thing with Gavin Williams and why I'm going to start him in the playoffs.
Ooh, are you?
I am because
Yikes.
he's ultimately got great stuff.
Yeah.
And you
God, he's not.
He
that
might
good,
slip.
though,
He might
boy.
slip
so
up
far
and be
this
nice
year.
one day.
But here's the thing. In the playoffs, you go to the bullpen in the first inning if you have to.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
Gavin Williams, with every start he's had this year, you've known right away if he's got it or
That's a
not.
fact.
And if he doesn't,
You get rid of him.
and if he does, well, he can go 6 innings.
And then
pitch
if you
well.
do have to go to Lively out of the pen
That's
for
right.
a bullpen game,
Because he'll be on the roster. But, we got to see. Lively got hurt. We'll see what his status is. Cobb's been dealing with blisters for the last month.
Cobb's going to be okay.
I think he'll be okay.
I literally
but-
was thinking that Cobb would be my number 2. When Cobb, the other night when he was perfect through 6, the other day, his stuff was A+.
Oh, yeah. Cobb, listen, Cobb and Boyd have both been fantastic additions.
Unreal.
And I didn't, especially with Boyd, I didn't see it coming because he hadn't pitched particularly well for a while. But
Cobb coming off injury, we didn't know.
If they're healthy in the rotation and pitching well, which has been up and down, with their bullpen, they're going to have a shot. Some of the top of the hitters are starting to come around. Obviously, they need more from Quan. Jimenez has been better lately.
Did you learn anything from the Dodgers series? I learned I can't pitch to Shohei Ohtani.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
I can't.
Nobody can.
It is crazy.
And he's one of those guys that I would absolutely have no problem walking with the bases loaded.
Yeah, I mean,
Put him on. I don't want to hit. Everything he hits, he barrels, and everything he hits goes deep into the outfield.
I'm rooting for him to get 50-50.
I am too.
He's got, I think, 47 steals, 46 homers.
The Dodgers would scare me. Anybody else in baseball, we can beat. The Dodgers scare
the thing with the Dodgers is their rotation. Like, everybody's hurt.
I know.
Kershaw's on the IL. Glasnow's on the IL.
Yeah, but he'll be ready for the playoffs.
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
but
they're counting on him.
Night.
What's that?
Your Cubbies came back on
the
them
Cubs
last
have beaten them 2
You
in
know
a row.
what? Here's what I keep thinking back to, Bull.
Yeah.
You remember when the Cubs were in town?
Of course, yeah.
Bull, and it was one of the most shocking things he's ever said on this show.
Yeah.
Bull is a diehard Cubs fan.
Yeah.
He sat in that chair and said, I'm rooting for them to get swept. They're out of the playoffs. They need to be swept.
Yeah.
You'd like to have that back.
No, it's fine.
Those are 3 big games.
They just lost their best pitcher. And they've played well. I'm happy that they're playing better.
Do they get in?
I don't think they're going to get in. They're still 4 out. I don't think they're good enough. It's not their year, and I want the Guardians to win a World Series. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Right.
I've been here long enough. I love baseball. I love the Guardians. Listen, I'm a diehard Cubs fan, and if the Cubs make the playoffs and they get to the World Series, I'm going to root for them again against the Guardians.
You better. That's
I
your
don't
team.
want it to happen.
Right.
But I want the Guardians to win the World Series this year. I know for some people that seems crazy to think they can get to the World Series. I believe this team is capable. Now, they don't have margin for error. They can't afford to have one of their starters get hurt. Can't afford the Clase to get hurt or Ramirez. And I don't trust a lot of their bottom of the lineup. But I think they could, nobody expected it to be Arizona against Texas last year. Nobody.
That's what I keep pointing back to.
Nobody.
No one did. And what's great is you have to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
The front office has had to reimagine the pitching staff. If I would have told you sitting here today, September 11th, if I would have told you after spring training was over that we're going to lose 4 of our starting 5 pitchers for most of the season, and the only healthy one is Ben Lively, you had us at 70 and 92 and no chance of making the playoffs.
Oh, no, I don't even know if I have that many wins.
I mean,
because
70,
I had them around 500 or a little over, and I thought their only chance was their starting pitching.
And here they have reimagined their starting pitching on the fly. And, whether it's Cantillo or the acquisition of Cobb and Boyd, they've hit all the right nails.
Yeah.
And here we are. Cleveland, get behind this team. They're going to be on 13 times the rest of the season. Let's fill that damn place and get ready for October and make a playoff run and bring that excitement
Let's
back
not
into
see
Cleveland.
what happened against the Cowboys, where there were a lot of Cowboy fans there.
Yeah. Oh.
And one last thing, because I know this would have pissed you off too. Fortunately, you know what? I don't want to say fortunately because I'm pissed it didn't happen. They were not going to let Cantillo get that perfect game. They were not going to let him go for it, and it was preemptively pissing me off.
No, I think they would have let Cantillo go. I don't think they would. I don't think they weren't going to let Cobb go because he's on a pitch count. He was approaching the pitch count, and I was listening to it. I was on the boat, and I'm saying, there's no way he gets a perfect game because Vogt would have to come get him. So I was glad that he gave up the hit because Cobb.
Okay.
Cantillo, I'm like, he's not. I mean,
Jay, I think they still would have taken him out.
He was an emergency starter
after the game. Stephen Vogt said, I was kind of relieved that he gave up the hit. I mean, you can't be saying that.
You can't take
this
him out.
This is baseball history, Jay.
But I know it's you got to.
He was over 90 pitches with the 2 outs.
I would have been furious had they removed.
I would have lost my mind because the Cubs did it with a no-hitter last week with Shota Imanaga.
I know they did.
He had a no-hitter.
No sense.
And I'm like, this is but a perfect game.
I know. And here's the other reason why.
Here's
the other thing. The Guardians Indians are the franchise now the longest on the hook between no-hitters.
For Len Barker.
You have to go back to 1981.
Len Barker, perfect.
And I know Dustin remembers that well.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
Dustin's over there
Len
going.
Barker.
No, this is great meat and potatoes baseball talk, and I love it because
no, you don't.
Len Barker.
If Bull wants to learn something about baseball, he'll listen to me.
That's true.
I mean, because I'm the baseball guy.
You are the guru.
I'm the baseball
Either you
guy.
or Times. Len Barker, when I ran into him at a charity softball, I played in 2 charity softball games with Len Barker. Couldn't be a nicer guy.
Yeah, he's
and he
wonderful.
said to me, I felt like crap that morning.
Got there late got to the ballpark late. He had to pick his brother up from the airport. And
Oh, never told me that part.
He got there at like 5:30.
Yeah.
And he's making the start at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. You know who the second longest drought is? Which team? Well, they have a no-hitter. Not a perfect game, even though the Guardians happen to be.
I don't know who that is.
It's the Blue Jays. It was by, I believe, Dave Stieb, who was a good pitcher.
Dave Stieb was the king of the 8 2/3.
Oh, he was a really good pitcher.
He lost 4 or 5 no-hitters with 2 outs in the ninth.
Dave Stieb's one of those pitchers that if you like, he's one of those pitchers that at the time you're like, this guy's a great pitcher, not a Hall of Famer, great pitcher, and like, you know, if you're a young person watching, even if you're a big baseball fan and you're 20, you probably don't know who Dave Stieb is.
No chance.
But if you were 20 in 1990, you knew who Dave Stieb was, and he was a great. But anyway,
he was in the Cy Young category.
I wanted Cantillo. When they got that hit with 2 outs, I was so Benintendi getting the hit. I was pissed.
Yeah, and then the pass ball, and then the double.
Yeah, they give up a run.
Hey, bro.
Okay.
Let's play.
When we talk baseball, Bull, like I can see his soul lighting up, bro.
I just love it.
Like you ever
I'm
had
Bull. I love it too.
Love it.
You ever
It's
seen
just-
them old school light brights? Like they were like, and you just baseball. His whole innards is just.
And you know what kills both of us is that these guys are right. This is like everybody at home's like, come on, can we talk about that 3rd down and 11?
The diehard fans love it, but yes, yeah.
But what breaks my heart is I
Yeah.
saw someone text me a picture yesterday of a game in October 1954
Yeah.
at Municipal Stadium where there were 86,000
Yeah.
fans.
That's crazy.
And here's what they said. Remember this? And I don't, but what he's saying
Yeah.
was, remember when baseball was big in Cleveland?
Yeah.
It only held 75,000 seats.
Right.
There were 11,000 fans that stood
That's
for a
amazing.
baseball game in Cleveland in 1954.
Amazing.
Now the stadium's 35,000 and we can't fill it.
No, but attendance has been up this year.
Been up,
It's
but
been
how many
very
sellouts have we had?
More than we've had in a number of years.
Yeah, but back in
not
the day-
not every day, obviously.
What always drives me crazy is thinking back, it wasn't that long ago when we had the 444 or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
consecutive
I remember
sellouts.
that.
I know. And part of it's ownership, not committing to players long term.
You're right.
But
If they
yeah,
care, we'll care.
Let's play a game real quick, guys.
yeah.
Tonight, to get into the Chicago White Sox Cleveland Guardians game at whatever the stadium in,
Yeah, who knows? It's changed
it's
names 3
guaranteed
times.
rate field now. It used to be US
Yeah,
Cellular.
guaranteed
Guaranteed
Zach
rate.
Meisel, by the way, Mike, is writing a column, I think it's coming out today, in which he interviewed White Sox fans that were at the game and like asked them why they were still going to games.
Oh, wow,
essentially.
interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think it costs? Cheapest ticket on Game Time. If you're going to buy tickets, use Game Time.
It's
Promo
a
code
dollar,
LOCKEDON NFL.
dollar and
I bet
change.
you get one for under $1.
I'll say 4.
Nah, it's $5.69.
No, it's around $1.
$3.
Oh.
$3 to get in tonight.
Zach said they're telling. Actually, this is a cool thing by the White Sox, as bad as they are. They're telling fans to buy the cheapest tickets they can get, and the
move
ushers are
wherever they
letting
want.
them down, go all the way to the
That
front.
is cool for them
Yeah,
to do that.
all the way to the front.
Why would they? Why would they have an objection for that?
Well, typically,
Some teams won't do that.
Teams don't give away anything for free
Yeah. Yeah.
ever because there's a chance that there would be a paying customer.
Right.
But here's the thing. If I'm a season ticket holder and I paid top dollar for front row and now they're going for $3 a
I'm
ticket,
pissed.
I'm a little hot.
Hey, joke's on you, bro. You shouldn't have invested
Yeah.
that high. You should have got them.
It was the White Sox, man.
It is. It's the White Sox.
All right, we have 3 super chats. We had a new segment. We're going to do overreaction versus reality in overtime. We're going to say that for overtime.
Okay.
See if
Explain
it works.
that. Explain that. So
I'm just giving you guys a take from week 1. Stuff that I've seen on Twitter that we've talked about. I'm going to throw it out to you, and you guys tell me if it's an overreaction to week 1 or if you might be a little worried
Or
it could be a
legit
reality
concern.
for the season.
okay, so there you
Overreaction,
go. If
proper
you're not
reaction?
currently a member,
Yeah.
you hit the subscribe
Underreaction?
button. It's like what, $5 a month?
Overreaction or
$4.99
proper
$4.99 a month.
What about underreaction?
Subscribe
No
to
under.
the show, and you get this extra content every day that only the paying customers get, like the White Sox. We
That's
don't want
right.
to give away anything for free,
And like the White Sox, it's cheap, you know.
and it'll be a great segment. This is going to be a fun
Yeah.
segment.
Yeah.
It might suck. It might be good. We'll find
No,
out.
it's not gonna
We're gonna
suck.
test
Way
it.
to sell it, Mike. It might suck.
Save the
I
$5.
am honest.
Buy
I
a
am
cup of
honest with
coffee.
the viewers. We'll
Yeah.
find out.
gonna be
3
great.
super chats, all 3 from Charles T.
Man.
First one, Charles T says, "I swear I am not a Deshaun Watson burner account."
Yeah.
The second one,
I don't know about that.
the second one, I cannot confirm nor deny that Jay Crawford is not a Baker Mayfield burner account.
Oh,
I don't even
yeah.
do my account on Twitter, so I don't.
Jay
know.
has way too little free time. to be
I
doing
don't
that.
do any of that nonsense. So
And
and
last
Baker
one from
doesn't need
Charles.
one.
Last one from Charles. Did G. Bush just sign to Death Row Canton? If so, G, what would your rap name be?
G baby.
Gee, baby.
Didn't you steal that from one of the kid in hardball?
Yeah, he died. He died, and we don't change that around,
Sure,
man.
you don't want to put ice in there somewhere? Ice G?
No, listen.
G-Ice?
I have a mixtape out, but it's an R&B mixtape. So, like, it's called Eclipse.
Wait,
but it's with a
made
K.
music?
Yeah, I make music.
Why are we just not hearing this?
No,
He's played it on the show. We've heard it.
McNuggets
It's
is
been a day
certain.
I was on the golf course.
Yeah, you was in the boat. You was on the boathouse.
Damn it.
Jay got the boat. You go underneath. That's how you know you winning. Like it's like a whole lot.
Everything in his life is winning.
Like it's like underneath. Like it got a refrigerator and everything. Cabins. Like if you search his boat, like there's a whole nother like.
He's got a harpoon down there.
No, I just bought a new one. You're not going to find my old one.
his new boat.
You want to buy a boat? I'm selling my old one.
Nah, bro. The gas on boats is crazy.
You too can have a live-in boat. You can live in your boat.
You know we don't know how to swim.
You don't need to. You'll be in the boat.
Nah,
and I've
man.
got 18 life
It's not
preservers
true, by
on
the
it.
way.
We don't
it's
know.
not true, man.
What? We know how to. We know how to swim?
Stereotype. It's not true.
Oh, listen. First and foremost, if I'm getting a boat, I'd rather spend my money on gym shoes and useless video games that I don't play. A boat, like boats. You know how much,
Bro, if I took you on the boat one weekend,
my best.
you would say, how much one of these run?
Nah,
I guarantee you
So
would.
here, my buddies, all my buddies got boats, right?
Yeah, that's why you want to have friends who have boats.
Yeah, if they got buddies.
That's true. Make us pay for everything.
Why buy the cow and you can milk it through the fence?
Like,
I've never heard that one.
pause. Like that's crazy. But no, like he took me to fill his boat up with gas. Oh yeah, come on now. You people talk about gas on the car, bro. That was a whole ticket. Then they got whole shelving systems. They gotta put the boat up for the winter.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, you're not getting me on that.
Well,
racket.
the acronym is break out another 1,000.
See you in overtime.
See you in overtime.
Sometimes that's light.
Yeah, right. That's extra light.